3 Married Salted Fish Author, Bikabi Copywriting. When Lin Qingyu was 18 years old, he married into Ho Men Kongzi and became the male wife of the sick Yang Xiaohui. On the wedding night, Xiaohui lay lazily on the bed and said, "Beauty, to be honest, I really don't want to fight in a house. I just want to eat and wait to die and be a salted fish." A year later, Master Xiaohui was seriously ill and took Lin Qingyu's hand and sighed, "My wife, I'm going to be cold, but I think I can continue to wear it. In order to recognize you and me in the future, let's set a secret code." After the death of Lord Ho, Lin Qingyu was prepared to stay the widow all his life. Unexpectedly, after only half a year, the great general with great achievements actually came to propose marriage. Lin Qingyu would rather die. The general only said one sentence, "Odd and even remain the same. Lin Qingyu, I will marry." In another 2 years, the general died in battle. Before Lin Qingyu had time to grieve, he was recruited into the palace by the emperor. The emperor complained aggrievedly, "My dear, this time I became the emperor, and my salted fish dream was completely shattered." Lin Qingyu knows that although her husband is a lazy bone, no one is his opponent when it comes to conspiracy and calculations. He touched the emperor's head, "Don't think about it. Criticize the book, be good." Content tag, Soul Conversion Palace Marquee has a special liking for a match made in heaven. Search keywords, protagonist, Lin Qingyu, Lu Wanchange supporting role. Others, 1 sentence introduction, Big Beauty is attacked by vs. Salted fish conception, industry is good at diligence, waste is at play. VIP forced the metal. Lin Qingyu married into Ho Men Kongzi when he was 18 years old, and became the male wife of the sick young son Xiaohui. A year later, young Master Ho became seriously ill and agreed to a signal with him, saying that if he could be reborn, he would come back to him and continue his predecessor. After the death of Lord Ho, Lin Qingyu guarded his widowhood for half a year and succeeded in becoming an official. At this time, the great general returned with a secret signal, and he became the general's wife again. In another 2 years, after the general died in battle, Lin Qingyu became a monarch of a country, and Lin Qingyu was recruited into the palace by the emperor. This article describes the changes in the life and destiny of the characters in the original book by the arrival of the book wearer from the perspective of ancient indigenous people. Full of suspense, the situation is refreshing. The protagonist has a plump character, one is an ambitious beauty imperial doctor, and the other is a male high school student who is too lazy to bone. The two went from friends to confidants and finally to their partners for a lifetime. They experienced all kinds of hardships and their identities changed again and again. The only constant is the sincere heart towards each other. Nananho Mansion, wedding night in the bridal chamber. The two Xianiangs finished their errands and filed out from the inner room with the maidservants of the Ho Mansion. Before leaving the door, they couldn't wait to talk in a whisper. "I have lived for most of my life, and I have never seen such a beautiful man. It's a pity to marry a sick seed, hey?" "What's a pity? He married young Master Ho Mansion. If it weren't for the birthday horoscope for Xiao Ho Yat and Madame Ho could be regarded as the son of the sentenced son of the Wu Pintai Hospital. What you said is reasonable. Whether this is a blessing or a curse, it will take a while to know." During the conversation, Xi Niang came to the outer room and before closing the two doors, she glanced inwardly. Amidst a festive red, the newly married young man from the Ho Mansion wears heepa, like a jade carving, quietly sitting quietly on the high bed. The door slowly closed, and only the two married and rejoiced were left in the wedding room. The surrounding area became quiet, and Lin Qingyu's back stiffened for a day finally relaxed. He moved slightly, and the tassel falling on the heepa swayed. It is really inconvenient to wear heepa. When a woman marries, the heepa on her head should be provoked by her husband, and it must be the same for a man to marry. However, his husband was afraid that he could not do this. His husband. Lin Qingyu raised her hand to take heepa for herself, and her vision finally widened. He looked around at the light gauze curtains and warm red curtains. In the end, he turned his attention to the sleeping man on the bed. Ziahui, Lu Wanchanj of Nanan Haofu. Under the candlelight, Lin Qingyu looked at Lu Wanchanj blankly. Lu Wanchanj wears a bright red dress, his eyebrows are as distant as mountains, his long eyelashes are thick, his cheeks are thin, and his lips are pale as paper. Even if his eyes are closed and the diseased bones are broken, he can still look good. From today, this person is his husband. Although he was a man, he became the wife of another man. He was the first male wife in the Dayu dynasty to be married by a Ming match. It's extremely ridiculous. He prepared for the assessment of the Imperial Medical Office for 3 years. If he passes the examination, he will become a medical officer just like his father. Even if you don't enter the palace, you can open a medicine shop in the capital and be an ordinary doctor. It's a pity that when he was preparing to show off his grand plan, the queen of the palace called his father to the front and said, "I heard that you have a son, born on March 11th, Qinji, Gaiwei year, but is it true?" After receiving a positive answer from Lin's father, the queen asked the emperor to give the Lin family a marriage and betrothed Lin Qingyu to Nananho's eldest son, Lu Wanchanj. Everybody in the capital knows that Lu Wanchanj suffered from deficiencies and has been sick for many years. When he was born, Nananho specially invited the imperial physician to come to see him in the residence. The imperial physician once asserted that Lord Lu Ziahe would not survive the age of a weak crown. This year, Lu Wanchanj is already 19, and his body is not as good as one day. Seeing that the day is dwindling and the deadline is approaching, Nananho has no other choice but to write to Dayu to ask for help from the national teacher who is said to be able to understand ghosts and gods. The letter from the national teacher to him contained only one line of 8 characters for his birthday, which was exactly, March 11th in the year of Gaiwei, Qinji. Defying the emperor's order is a capital crime, and Lin Qingyu's death alone is not a pity, but he has to protect his elderly parents and young brothers. In this way, he became Lu Wanchanj's Kongzi male wife. After more than 10 years of hard study, all became a joke. At this moment, Haishi has passed, and the maidservant outside the door said, "Young master, the hour is here, wait for Master Ziahe to go to bed." Lin Qingyu clenched his fingers at her sleepy husband. Want him to serve Lu Wanchanj? What a joke! Jiao Men's marriage rules have always been cumbersome. Although he was in a hurry, Nananho's mansion also sent a teacher's aunt to the Lin mansion to teach Lin Qingyu's so-called male wife's way. Before the wedding, he washed his whole body, inside and out. Something like grease was even applied. Lin Qingyu is not a good man and has never suffered such humiliation. If it weren't for keeping the dozens of people in the Lin family, he would have liked to die with Lu Wanchanj. Seeing that there was no movement in the Xi room, the maid urged again, "Young master, go to bed." Lin Qingyu closed her eyes, suppressing the upsurge in malice. He blew out the candle, leaving only a red candle in front of the bed. Lu Wanchanj was still wearing Jinfan's suit, lying outside the quilt, which might make it uncomfortable to sleep in this way. But what does it matter to him? He wished that Lu Wanchanj would never wake up. Lin Qingyu walked to the bed, and his eyes fell on Lu Wanchanj's hand placed on his chest. The Lin family is a medical family. Lin Qingyu studied medicine with his father since childhood. When he was a teenager, he left home to study and worshipped a famous teacher. Just by looking at Lu Wanchanj's complexion, he knew that Lu Wanchanj was dyingly ill and must be suffering from severe illness. In order to confirm this, Lin Qingyu condescended to explore the veins of this sick seedling. Lu Wanchanj's wrists were frighteningly cold, as if they were fished out of cold water. Just like what he had guessed, Lu Wanchanj's vitality was exhausted, and there was already a sign of a deadly pulse. Unless the genius doctor reincarnated, Lu Wanchanj would not survive for half a year at most. He only had to endure for half a year. When Lu Wanchanj passed away, he would be relieved. Lin Qingyu unconsciously used force on his hand, leaving 2 shallow marks on Lu Wanchanj's wrist. Suddenly, the pale fingertips moved. Lin Qingyu instinctively let go. Lu Wancheng's hand fell back to the bed, only to see his eyes rolled under his eyes, and his long eyelashes trembled slightly. Lu Wancheng is going to wake up? Lin Qingyu had a solemn expression and stared at Lu Wancheng unblinkingly. In his sword-like gaze, Lu Wancheng slowly opened his eyes. There was a mist in Lu Wancheng's eyes, and it seemed that he couldn't see anything. When the mist in his eyes dissipated, a trace of puzzlement appeared. Hey! Where did the classical beauty come from? Oh, Deng's apprentice! I'm almost dying of illness and don't forget to be called a beauty. Lin Qingyu said coldly, you are awake. Lu Wancheng was in a daze for a moment, and asked in a dumb voice, who are you? A hint of surprise flashed in Lin Qingyu's eyes, don't you know me? It was the first time the two met, but as long as Lu Wancheng's brain grows, he should understand what he looks like in his body. Lu Wancheng shook his head, coughed dully, and said, although it is very old-fashioned, I still want to ask, where is this and why am I here? Lin Qingyu. Could it be that the sick seed is stupid? Or, Lu Wancheng didn't even know about this marriage? Before Kongzi, he heard his father mention Lu Wancheng's condition. It is said that Lu Wancheng has been dizzy and unconscious for the past month. If this is the case, Lu Wancheng is likely to be completely ignorant of this marriage. Lin Qingyu's expression eased a little, my name is Lin and my name is Qingyu. Lin Qingyu? Linear. Qing, Yu. Lu Wancheng said his name, as if thinking of something, the beauty doctor who died in the East Palace. Lin Qingyu frowned, what? Lu Wancheng looked at him for a moment, with a look of stunned expression, and suddenly struggling to try to sit up. Out of the doctor's habit, Lin Qingyu pushed the patient back in the disorder, what do you want to do? Mirror. Lu Wancheng covered his chest with one hand, and pointed at the bronze mirror on the cabinet with one finger. His hair was scattered on a pillow, ahem, give me the mirror. Mirror? Lin Qingyu handed the bronze mirror to Lu Wancheng and asked, what's wrong with this mirror? Lu Wancheng saw himself in the mirror, seeing a ghost, his eyes widened suddenly. His expression seemed to have 1,000 words to say, after a long while, he almost couldn't breathe, but in the end he said only one word, fuck. The maidservant of the night watch heard the movement in the Zifang, knocked on the door and asked, young master, what happened? Lin Qingyu looked at Lu Wancheng who was struck by lightning, and said indifferently, tell you Master Ho and Madam, Master Ho is awake. The handmaid immediately sent someone to report Nanan Ho and Madam Ho, and then invited the doctor. After a while, the wedding room was full of people, and Lin Qingyu stood on the outermost side, instead acting like an outsider. Although Dr. Zhang who diagnosed Lu Wancheng's pulse is not an imperial doctor, he is also a famous doctor in Beijing. Dr. Zhang stroked his beard and said in disbelief, this is the first time this old man has encountered this situation after decades of practicing medicine. Madam Ho said eagerly, Dr. Zhang, what is he late Cheng? Madam, don't worry, it's a good thing that Master Xiaohe can wake up. It's the pulse condition. Yesterday, the old man also diagnosed Master Xiaohe's pulse. At that time, Master Xiaohe's vitality was exhausted, and he was not far from the 5 decays of heaven and man. But now, it's as if he has changed a person. Dr. Zhang was amazed, it's like the help of a god, suddenly injected a burst of vitality into him. Lin Qingyu thought quietly. Lu Wancheng got better suddenly. It was not a return to light, but a bit weird. He hadn't seen a similar case in medical books. Madam Ho was taken aback and asked, then his illness is about to get better. The doctor did not dare to assert, and considered, at least there is a glimmer of life. Okay, okay. Madam Ho shed tears with excitement, Wancheng, did you hear that? Your illness has taken a turn for the better. Lu Wancheng didn't have any special reaction, only said, I heard it. The doctor said again, Madam, Xiao Haoyi only wakes up, and he still needs to rest. Madam Ho wiped away her tears and said, Then mother won't interrupt you to rest. What about King Yu? Where is young master? Everyone looked at each other. Lin Qingyu stepped forward and said, Madam. Madam Ho held his hand and said with a smile, King Yu, as soon as you marry into the Ho mansion, Wan Cheng's illness has improved. The Chinese teacher really has a brilliant plan. You are Wan Cheng's savior. We Wan Cheng, please come to me in the future as you. Lu Wancheng raised his head and looked at Lin Qingyu. Lin Qingyu smiled and said, Madam, don't worry, I will take care of Master Xia He with all my heart. The grandmother beside Madam Ho joked, Hey, don't you call Master Xia He like us, you have to be called husband. Everyone laughed, and no one noticed that Lin Qingyu's hand in the sleeves of the XI suit was quietly clenched. Everyone dispersed, the peace in the XI room was restored again, and the red candle was about to burn to its end. Lu Wancheng lay silent on the bed, frowning and loosening, as if trying to remember something. Lin Qingyu didn't bother to pay attention to him, standing by the window, looking at the strange bright moon outside the window. She seemed to be covered with moonlight. I don't know how long. Lu Wancheng let out a sigh of relief, and said, Buddy, oh, that's not right. Beautiful woman, come here. Lin Qingyu said coolly, Who are you calling? Lu Wancheng smiled and said, Is there anyone else here? Lin Qingyu turned around. The swaying candlelight dyed a trace of crimson blush on his cheeks, and the tears in the corners of his eyes were as bright as a peony. People are beautiful, but they don't seem to have a good temper. Lu Wancheng coughed twice and nodded for Lin Qingyu to sit down. Lin Qingyu only stood by the bed, keeping an arm's distance from Lu Wancheng. I was sorting out my clues just now. Lu Wancheng's tone was calm, without the rush when he first woke up. Lin Qingyu said indifferently, What are you thinking about and what do you do with me? It's a bit of a relationship. Because I think about your clues. Lu Wancheng just said these few words, already a little weak and pale. If I came a few days earlier, I would definitely not agree to this marriage. Let you marry me and keep the widow of the dead. Lin Qingyu's expression was numb. What use are you saying now? Indeed. Now we are married, and Tang also worships. The whole capital knows that we are husband and wife. Lin Qingyu sneered, No. Lin Qingyu mocked, We don't have a worship hall. You have been falling asleep, and I worshipped a big cock. Lu Wancheng sneered, It's okay. It's fine, you don't have to worship, you don't have to take this marriage seriously. I will not live for half a year, so you will be wronged for half a year. When I die, you will carry my inheritance. It's not too bad to go back to Lin Mansion and be happy. Lin Qingyu was startled, and said suspiciously, Is there such a good thing? Yes. But how much inheritance you can bring home depends on your own ability. Lu Wancheng leaned back on a soft pillow, in a lazy tone, I have a broken body, so I won't go to play house fighting. Nanan Haofu Shuatai deep, I can't grasp it, I just want to eat and wait to die, and be a salted fish. Lin Qingyu didn't fully understand what Lu Wancheng said, but he probably understood what he meant. Lu Wancheng was able to understate his time so soon. Is he really not afraid of death? Lu Wancheng is a sick person in the end, and it is the limit to hold on to it now. He lay down on the bed and said, Beauty, you. Lin Qingyu sternly said, What do you call it indiscriminately? Because of his appearance, Lin Qingyu was often harassed by apprentices while studying abroad. For some people who call him beauties and babies at every turn, he just wants to put the poison that he has formulated himself and can force people to shut up and stuff them into their mouths. However, although Lu Wancheng called a beauty, he did not look at him like a frivolous person. It was not hopeless to stare at him. You're so fierce, aren't you happy to praise you for your good looks? Lu Wancheng closed his eyes and said, That's it, I'm going to rest, you can do it yourself. After some tossing, the time has passed. There was really nothing else to do besides going to bed. The maidservant just now helped Lu Wancheng take off her clothes and wiped her hands and face. Lin Qingyu also wore the wedding dress and wedding crown he used to get married, with flowers painted on the center of her eyebrows, and the makeup on her face was not washed. Yes, he put on makeup today. Although Xi Niang just painted his eyebrows and lips under his strong request, his face was cold and beautiful, and after using these, his lips were like flames, and his eyebrows were like picturesque. This look made others praise it, but it made him frightened. It seemed that what was squeezing between his lips was not a rouge paper, but a shackle that held him back. It was the entire Nananho mansion and the heavenly family that put this shackle on him. He will remember this hatred. He also remembered the Xi Niang who had to let him use ointment and made him feel uncomfortable somewhere. As for his unknowing husband, if what Lu Wancheng said is true, they can really spend the 6 months together in peace. There is only the name of husband and wife, and there is no real husband and wife, so he can barely remember Lu Wan Cheng's hatred. A dying person, why bother with him too much? Naturally there could not be 2 beds in the Xi room, the only one was occupied by Lu Wancheng, and Lin Qingyu decided to stay the night with Admiral. At this time, shortly after the New Year's Day, the sun has not yet warmed up, so you will definitely catch the cold if you just sleep on a soft break. Lin Qingyu saw an extra quilt on Xi's bed, thinking that the servants of the home mansion were afraid that their precious little Hoya would not be used to sleeping on the same quilt with others, so they prepared it deliberately. In that case, Lin Qingyu didn't want to be polite. Lu Wancheng still couldn't escape the torment of illness and pain in his sleep, his eyebrows were lightly gathered. Lin Qingyu took the quilt lightly, and Lu Wancheng was still awake. When Lu Wancheng opened his eyes, Lin Qingyu was bending over, and the hair hanging from his chest fell on his cheeks, making it a little itchy. The two looked at each other. Without waiting for Lu Wancheng to speak, Lin Qingyu said first, "I will take the quilt." Lu Wancheng smiled, "You take it." Lin Qingyu hugged the quilt onto the soft collapse and spread it out. Just as he was about to lie in, Lu Wancheng said, "Don't you take your clothes off when you sleep." Although the wedding dress worn by the male and wife is not as complicated and cumbersome as the wedding dress of the woman, it is also a tunic with 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside. It is far less convenient and comfortable to wear than ordinary clothes. Lu Wancheng looks tired for him. Lin Qingyu calmly said, "Naturally want to get off." Turning his back to Lu Wancheng, he raised his hand to unlock the outermost buckle. The coat fell from his shoulders and slid to his ankles. Pieces of clothing were removed, and after a while, he was just like Lu Wancheng, with only the close-fitting bedding left on him. After taking off his clothes, he turned around and glanced at Xi bed. Very good, Lu Wancheng fell asleep again. Early the next morning, Lin Qingyu always sleeps lightly, and Lu Wancheng wakes him up with a light cough. On the bed, Lu Wancheng was lying on his side, his face was mostly blocked by the scattered green silk, his sleeping posture was casual and not solemn at all. As soon as Lin Qingyu got up from the collapse, there was a knock on the door. "Young master and young master, it's time to get up. According to the rules, you will go to Master Ho and Madam Ho to offer tea later." Lu Wancheng showed no sign of waking up. Lin Qingyu opened the door and let them in. The maid walking in the front was Feng Qin, who served Lu Wancheng next to her. She entered the room with hot water and saw the soft quilt on her face. Her expression was strange for a moment. Half of the maids came to wait for Lin Qingyu to freshen up, and half went to get Lu Wancheng up. Lin Qingyu changed into a snow blue robe, and his long hair was simply with a jade crown. He was still dressed up as an ordinary man, but compared with yesterday's wedding, he was less bright and more dignified. Feng Qin also wanted to put on makeup for Lin Qingyu. Lin Qingyu said, "No." Feng Qin said, "But I looked at young master yesterday and put on makeup." "You also said it was yesterday." Lin Qingyu scanned the makeup on the table and said irritably, "Take these down." Lin Qingyu has finished putting on her clothes, and Lu Wancheng is still asleep. A few maidservants gathered around the bed, calling him softly, "Master, it's time for you and young master to toast the old lady with tea." "Master!" Lu Wancheng was motionless, his expression calm, his hands folded on his chest, like a Buddha statue. Feng Qin said uncomfortably, "Master Xiaohe won't faint again, right?" Lin Qingyu stepped forward, carefully observed Lu Wancheng, and said, "No, he just fell asleep to death, and forced to wake him up." Feng Qin asked if she didn't understand, "Young master, why is it forcibly called? Be louder, or lift his quilt." Lin Qingyu said, "But don't forget that he is a patient. Unless you want him to get worse, don't disturb him to rest." Feng Qin said, "But, over there for Master Ho and his wife." Lin Qingyu interrupted, "What is he doing? Do you want him to serve tea? Rules are more important than his life." In Daegu, the parents usually serve tea to their parents on the second day of their wedding. It is the bride and husband together. If Lu Wancheng doesn't go, then he probably won't have to go either. Before the queen gave the marriage, Nananho's wife Liang had sent someone to ask for a marriage, but he decisively refused to ask for the queen, thus putting the Lin family in a state of either marrying or dying. Not to mention treating the Nanan couple as in-laws, he didn't even care about them. Feng Qin didn't dare to call the shots, and sent a little maid to report to the Liang family. Not long after, the grandmother by Liang's side replied, "Madam said, it is rare for the young master to sleep peacefully, and let him continue to sleep. She and Howie only drink tea from young master alone." Lin Qingyu sneered, "Madam really loves her son like her life. People in the home mansion are involuntary." No matter how reluctant, Lin Qingyu could only put on a snow poncho and followed the mother to the front hall. Along the way, the grandmother was chatting about the rules of the home mansion's inner house. Lin Qingyu automatically cut her voice out of her ears only when she was farting. He was wearing heepa yesterday, and he could only see a few steps under his feet. Today he can see the true appearance of Nanan home mansion. Although he had never been to the palace, he had gone to the palace with his father. The magnificence of Nananho's mansion is not inferior to the Wang's mansion, with its carved beams and painted buildings, gorgeous and noble, which shows that Nananho's status in the court is extraordinary. In the front hall, Nananho and Liang were seated in the upper seat. Nananho Nian is not confused, taciturn, and has a firm face. Liang's charm still exists, kind eyebrows and kind eyes, she looks like a good-natured lady. Lin Qingyu took the tea from her mother and couldn't help but imagine the scene of poisoning herself in it. What poison is there to give them a taste of losing their freedom? The two drank Lin Qingyu's tea. Liang smiled and said, "Qingyu, did you sleep well last night?" Lin Qingyu returned to his senses and said, "It's acceptable. From now on, the home mansion will be your home. If there is anything you are not used to, just tell your mother." "Thank you, ma'am." Grandma said, "Why is young master still called MRS? You have to be called mother just like Master Xiaohe." This mother is really obsessed with changing her mouth, so she can simply call her change her mouth. So she wanted to bark, why didn't she bark? Lin Qingyu lowered his eyes and said, "It is difficult to change my mouth because of habit. I hope Mrs. Ho will forgive me." Nananho looked unhappy. Liang said graciously, "It's okay, it will be long in Japan. I always forgot to change my mouth during the first few months of marriage in the home mansion." Nananho said, "It is still necessary to get used to it as soon as possible, so as not to make people look at jokes." Lin Qingyu thought of her parents and said with a forbearance, "Yes." The Liang took another sip of tea and said, "Your birthday character and Wancheng's are a match made in heaven. Lord Ho and I also fancy this point, so we asked the gods to give us the marriage. Qingyu, you will be your husband in the future. First, wait on the sickbed, let Wancheng be more blessed with you." Lin Qingyu nodded stubbornly. Nananho said, "Speaking of which, you are the son of the imprisonment of the Taiyuan hospital, and you have worshipped a famous teacher. Your medical skills are definitely not bad. Lin Qingyu's chest was suffocated for a while. Yes, his medical skills are not bad. He could have been able to save the world and heal the wounded, but now he has to be trapped in the back house and be a safe man and wife. And the culprit still said, although Wan Cheng's body is taken care of by Dr. Zhang, you can also take care of some of it. Don't waste your medical skills. Nananho also worked as an errand for Shangshu from the Ministry of Households. The Liang gave a jade bracelet to Lin Qingyu, and said, "This is the dowry I brought from my natal family. I wanted to give it to Wan Cheng's son in the future. Now." Liang paused and smiled again. "That's it, you keep it." Lin Qingyu would not understand Liang's intention. She took so much effort to marry Lu Wancheng, a male wife, and she did not forget that she could not have children if she abandons her male wife. Worthy of being a member of the Nananho mansion, one is worse than the other, and Lu Wancheng is barely able to see him. Lin Qingyu returned to the Lanfan pavilion where Lu Wancheng lived, and threw the brocade box containing the jade bracelet to Feng Qin. Feng Qin said, "Young master is back, Xiaohe hasn't woken up yet. How long have you been asleep, are you really okay?" Lin Qingyu stopped walking towards the study. "I'll take a look." What he wanted to see was not Lu Wancheng, but the pulse that Lu Wancheng had rarely seen in a century. Dr. Zhang, who diagnosed Lu Wancheng's pulse last night, understood that he was indeed a well-known doctor with real talents. It would be a pity not to know the pulse condition that Dr. Zhang had never seen before. When Lin Qingyu walked into the inner room, Lu Wancheng was still asleep, even keeping the posture he had before leaving. He stood by the bed, condescendingly watching Lu Wancheng. I have to say that Lu Wancheng doesn't look like his parents very much, and his appearance is much more refined than that of Nan Anho and his wife. Lin Qingyu rolled up his sleeves, sticking out his fingertips. Before he touched Lu Wancheng's pulse, his hand was caught off guard, and a rambling voice sounded, "Sneak up, what do you want to do, Lin Qingyu?" Lin Qingyu's hand stiffened, "Let go." As for Lu Wancheng's body, he was afraid that Lu Wancheng would faint if he tried a little bit to break free. Lu Wancheng let go, eyes closed, but the corners of his lips curled up. "Don't get excited, I don't like men, you don't have to guard me." Lin Qingyu widened his eyes, "You don't like men?" "Yes. I remember that even though Deu is a male style, not everyone has their sleeves broken." Lu Wancheng opened his eyes, "What about you? Are you?" Lin Qingyu choked. It has been a month since he was given the marriage and no one has ever asked him this question. Anyway, he is going to marry a man, so what is the difference between a man and a woman? Naturally neither. Lu Wancheng covered his lips and coughed a few times, then said sympathetically, "Then you marry me Kongzi, wouldn't you be wronged to death?" Lin Qingyu's eyebrows were gloomy, "Nonsense. Give me happiness in exchange for you, won't you be wronged? That's why I said to make up for you. It's easy to say, what will you do to compensate me?" "My legacy." Lin Qingyu sneered, "I have to fight for your inheritance." Lu Wancheng asked, "Then what compensation do you want?" "As long as it is not troublesome and strenuous, I can give it to you." He wants to take the examination of the Imperial Medical Office, wants to leave Nanan Haofu, wants to do what he wants to do. But he knew it was almost impossible. The marriage between him and Lu Wancheng was gifted by Sheng Shang. Even if Lu Wancheng agrees and leaves, he will nod his head. Lin Qingyu was silent for a while, and said, "Give me your hand." Lu Wancheng held his wrist in the other hand, and said vigilantly, "Hey? What are you doing?" Lin Qingyu said impatiently, "Give you a pulse. Say it early." Lu Wancheng raised his hand, showing his wrist, "Dr. Lin, please." A charcoal basin was burning in the room, and Lu Wancheng was shrunk under the blanket, but his wrists were still cold. Feeling the beating of his pulse, Lin Qingyu frowned. Lu Wancheng's body was better, but the disease was not eradicated. He could feel the sudden vitality that Dr. Zhang said. But Lu Wancheng's body was like a bottomless pit, consuming this vitality little by little. Unless the root of the disease is removed, Lu Wancheng will still not survive half a year until his vitality is exhausted. There is no cure for Lu Wancheng's disease. Seeing Lin Qingyu's face sinking like water, Lu Wancheng asked, "Am I saved?" Lin Qingyu asked, "Why do you think so?" "Because you are not happy." Lu Wancheng looked like it had nothing to do with him. "Substitute you, I think you should hope that I die sooner." Lin Qingyu couldn't help asking, "You really don't care about life and death at all?" "Nothing to care about." Lu Wancheng smiled, "My fate is beyond my control." "Don't worry, my widow, you are on the guard." Lin Qingyu. "The author has something to say, Lu Xianyu, the author can't help my life, I can't live lying ping.jpg." Lin Qingyu got up and left. The patient himself has lost his desire to survive, so what does he worry about? Lu Wancheng died earlier, and he could return to Lin Mansion earlier. Lin Qingyu went to the study. He came to Nanan Home Mansion with only 2 boxes of things. One box contains clothing, and the other box contains medical books. According to the rules of the home mansion, he can bring 2 dowry maids into the door. But he was not used to being served by a woman. When he was in the Lin Mansion, a small servant who grew up with him followed him to study. It is not a glorious thing to marry someone to be a male wife. He doesn't want his little servant to enter the home mansion under the name of dowry. So he came to Lin Mansion alone, and probably only the box of medical books would be able to accompany him in the future. There are many ancient books in the medical books that he hasn't read, and I don't know if there are any records in the ancient books that are similar to Lu Wancheng. Lin Qingyu buried his head in it, and finally calmed down. When he was in school, his classmates thought that medical books were boring and complicated, and reading 3 pages would make people drowsy. But in Lin Qingyu's view, the words of the classmates' heart are not as interesting as 1 or 2 of the medical books. He, like his father, has an unforgettable ability. The classmate memorizes things that can only be memorized in a day, and he only needs to read it once to memorize things backwards. My father also had the idea of letting him take the imperial examination, but he just wanted to be a medical officer. He likes the feeling of the patient getting better under his own hands. He wants to enter the Taiyuan Hospital, which gathers famous doctors in the world, and wants to study medical skills with them, find a cure for all kinds of intractable diseases, and help the people. He could have been. It's just a little bit short. Young master. The voice did not sound like a handmaid. Lin Qingyu looked up. Sure enough, it was the mother who always asked him to change his mind. It is said that the surname is Lu. Lin Qingyu said coldly, "What?" Mother Lu opened her eyes and smiled, "Young master, it's time to eat." Lin Qingyu didn't have any appetite at all, but it was not worth it because the dog in Nanan Haofu hurt her body. "Bring the food, I will use it in the study." Mother Lu waved her hands again and again, "This makes it impossible, young master." Lin Qingyu frowned, "What can't you do? Does the home mansion's house rule also have a rule of no eating in the study?" "That's not true. It was the lady who told me that our young master relied on Kongzi to get his life back. The young master is the lucky star of the young master. You must stay together so that the young master's illness can heal faster." To refute such remarks will only appear stupid. If Kongzi can really cure the disease, what would Deu need to do with a doctor? The court has gone to great lengths to train medical officers. Lin Qingyu looked at Grandma Lu and asked, "Grandma, how will you be this year?" Grandma Lu didn't know Lin Qingyu's intention in this question, but she still smiled and said, "The old woman is 50 or 2. 5 Taituo people look like 4 Taituo. I may not be able to live to 5 Taituo. Mother is so lucky. You must take care of the young master. He can heal faster." Grandma Liu's smile froze, Xie Jun said and laughed. Lin Qingyu's face turned cold, Do I look like I'm joking? Go down. Mother Liu's face was extremely ugly. She is Mrs. Ho's confidant of Liang's confidant. Except for the master of the Ho mansion, no one is respectful to her. Even the masters gave her a lot of face on weekdays. What is Lin Qingyu? To say that it sounds better is young master, but to say that it is awkward is just the male wife bought by the Ho mansion to renew the life of the young master. Only one day after I got married, I started to face her. Seeing Madame Lu staying still, Lin Qingyu sneered, no distinction is made between respect and inferiority. A servant dare to ignore young master's order, this is also the rule of the Ho mansion. Madame Lu lowered her eyes, the slaves dare not. It's just that the lady personally ordered someone to stew chicken soup with ginseng today for the slaves to bring them. If you don't taste it with the eldest master, you will betray the wife's kindness. Ginseng chicken soup? Stupid, I don't know whether it's empty or not. Does Liang think that her son is not seriously ill? It's just ordering people personally, and it's not personally cooking. Lin Qingyu no longer looked at her, turning the pages of the medical calligraphy, you give it to the young master. Mother Lu gritted her teeth, gave Lin Qingyu a gloomy look, and took the chicken soup and left. When calm in the study was restored, Lin Qingyu was a little absent-minded. Lu Wancheng is currently suffering from gastrointestinal damage, and the infusion of tonics will only make the already weak body worse. Lu Wancheng has been ill since he was a child, and he has become a doctor for a long time. As his mother, does Liang's mother even know this? Once or twice, it's okay, but if you continue to make up for it for a long time, Lu Wancheng's body will definitely become weaker and weaker. No matter what, it is just to do good and accumulate virtue. Lu Wancheng's situation is really rare, and he still wants to study for more time. Lin Qingyu left the study and came to the dining room, but did not see Lu Wancheng. He asked a handmaid passing by, "Where is the young master?" "Handmaid," the young master said he was too lazy and wanted to eat in bed. Patients who are ill in bed should lie down more often. Lin Qingyu went to the bedroom again. Before entering the house, the person said, "The ginseng chicken soup sent by your mother, don't." Sitting on the bed, Lu Wancheng, who was drinking porridge with side dishes, said, "Hey." There was a square table in front of Lu Wancheng's bed. Most of the things on the table were light, except for the big pot of butter chicken soup with ginseng slices floating in it. Looking at the clean soup spoon beside the pot, Lu Wancheng actually didn't drink a bit of chicken soup. Lu Wancheng chewed slowly, swallowing all the contents in his mouth, and said, "Dr. Lin, rare guests. Have you eaten them?" Lin Qingyu asked, "This ginseng chicken soup, but your mother personally ordered someone to stew it, why don't you drink it?" Lu Wancheng wiped his mouth with the kerchief, and said casually, "I can't eat the things she sent." Lin Qingyu wondered, "Why?" Said, "It will let me live for half a year, and a moment is not half a year. If they want to send me away sooner, then I will have trouble." Lin Qingyu became more and more surprised, why would they want to see you away sooner? Lu Wancheng's eyes blinked, "Guess what?" Lin Qingyu was speechless for a while, "Do you think you are funny?" Lu Wancheng laughed out loud. He accidentally smiled and choked on himself, coughing again and again, and his handsome face turned pale red. Lin Qingyu had no idea what Lu Wancheng was laughing at. But it is not difficult to see that the relationship between Lu Wancheng and the Liang family does not seem to be as kind and filial as it seems on the surface. Seeing the maid serving on the side busy patting her back for Lu Wancheng, Lin Qingyu stretched out her hand and took it back. "What's ridiculous?" Lu Wancheng stopped coughing, with a smile in his breath, "I am only a little funny, and it is still very interesting." Lin Qingyu disdain, "You have a broken body, and I am afraid that you will not be able to make it out of your great taste." "You're right." Lu Wancheng sighed, "This body is really going to fight me, if it is replaced by my own." "What do you mean?" Lu Wancheng smiled and answered the wrong question, "It's all here, Dr. Lin, sit down and have a meal. I can't drink this chicken soup, you can still do it. Lin Qingyu said, where do you want me to sit? Lu Wancheng looked around, why don't you come on the bed too? Lin Qingyu didn't appreciate it, forget it, eat it by yourself and leave. Wait. Lu Wancheng stopped him, I have something I want to give you. I just read the gift list from the guest and found that there is a gift that suits you well. Lin Qingyu didn't even look at it, no. Lu Wancheng gave a tisk, somehow, take a look first, and take a look without getting tired. Flower do. Huolu is another maid serving in the room besides Fengqin, she is very smart and lovely. She presented something and said with a smile, if it hadn't been for the eldest master to tell me, I still don't know what it is. Lin Qingyu glanced respectfully, and was startled. What the flower do gave him was something similar to a cloth bag. It was made of leather material, which could be rolled up easily and spread out only a thin layer, and nothing could be put in it. Ordinary people may not be able to see it, but doctors will know at a glance that this is an acupuncture bag. The inner mezzanine is used for pin insertion. Lin Qingyu reached out her hand involuntarily, stroking the leather bag with a good feel, her long eyelashes trembled slightly, and her eyes were dark and dark. Lu Wancheng smiled and said, do you like it? Nananho Mansion was overwhelmed, and most of those who sent gifts were high-ranking dignitaries in Beijing. Lin Qingyu picked up the gift list on the table and looked at it. Most of them were gold, silver, and jade, antique calligraphy and painting, and a small acupuncture bag was too small to see. But Lu Wancheng just wanted to give this to him. Lin Qingyu looked at the character Lu Lin is overjoyed, forever with one heart with gold thread on the outside of the bag, and a self-deprecating smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Thank you, Lord Ho, for your kindness, but what's the point of giving me this? Lu Wancheng fist against his lips and coughed, why not, you can use it in the future. Oh? Is it for you alone? Lu Wancheng's smile faded and he was silent for a while, and said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I just... Halfway through, he was not serious, if you don't want it, don't be angry. Although Dr. Lin is angry, it's also very eye-catching, but too much anger is bad for your health. As the saying goes, if you lose your temper for trivial things, why don't you think about it? If you're so angry, who's happy, and it's bothersome and laborious? Lin Qingyu calmly said, I'm not angry. Lu Wancheng beckoned to Huolu. Huolu leaned over her ears, what's the matter, master? Lu Wancheng said, someone is angry, but I won't tell you who it is. Lin Qingyu. Hush. Lu Wancheng raised his index finger in front of his lips and looked out the window, my mother is here. Lin Qingyu sneered, what are you shushing? You are the one who talks the most. As for your mother, it's probably the one who came here to ask the crime. Lu Wancheng touched his chin and said, let me guess, did she let you stick to me, but you are too lazy to care about her? In surprise, Lin Qingyu forgot to be angry, how do you know? Lu Wancheng smiled meaningfully, I know so much. Lin Qingyu thought for a moment, then smiled suddenly. He lifted up his sleeves and took up half of Lu Wancheng's porridge, Master Xiaohe, I'll feed you porridge. Lu Wancheng, Outside, the Liang family entered the yard with the support of Mother Lu. Feng Qin greeted her and said, I have seen Madam. Liang asked her, where is the young master? In response to Madam, the young master is eating in the bedroom. Young Jun is with him. Feng Qin shook her head, Shaojun is alone in the study. Madam Lu whispered, Madam, you have also heard that, what the slave and maid said to you are all from young master. Liang helped the sideburns, and said calmly, I believe you. Let's go in and take a look. Mother Lu walked fast and opened the way for her master. The eldest master woke up last night, just when someone needed to wait. Although there is a maid in the room, the young man is a young man after all, and the husband is sick in bed. How can there be any reason for my wife's non-servicing? This is only the first day, and young master has been so negligent. How can this be worthy of our Lu family's 3 media and 6 employment? Everyone knows that Mrs. Nan Anho is a man with a strong temper. At this moment, she can't help but sink her face and speed up her pace. The two rushed into the inner room almost violently. The arrangement for the wedding had not been removed in the future. Lu Wanchange was half lying on Xi's bed. Lin Qingyu sat beside him, holding the porridge bowl in one hand, and handing the porridge spoon to Lu Wanchange's mouth with the other, saying, "Little Howie." Lu Wanchange laughed and said, "It's a bit hot, just blow it." Lin Qingyu narrowed his eyes, looking like he was about to poke a hole in Lu Wanchange's smiling face. In any case, the husband and wife are handsome and luxurious, and the other is bright and dignified. When others see this picture, they only feel that they are happy and peaceful, and the years are peaceful. The Liang family and Mother Lu were both stunned, until Lu Wanchange looked at them. "Why is my mother here?" Liang frowned, then loosened it quickly, and said softly, "Mother, come and see how your appetite is." As he said, if there was anything, he gave Madame Lu a glance. Mother Lu was furious and asked in a low voice, "Didn't you say that young master is in the study?" Feng Qin said blankly, Fang Cai Shaojun is indeed in the study." Lin Qingyu put down the porridge bowl and stood up and said, "Madam sent Mother Lu to come here not long ago. How come she is here again at this moment? Is she trying to personally confirm whether Master Xiaohe has a good meal?" Lu Wanchange smiled and said, "It's so cold outside, and my mother came to see me for dinner. I was moved." Liang reluctantly smiled and said, "When a mother is a mother, there is no one who does not care for the child. Lei Cheng, have you drink the chicken soup that your mother gave you?" "I want to drink it." Lu Wanchange looked at Lin Qingyu, "He wouldn't let me drink it." Lin Qingyu said calmly, "It was said in the book, eliminating evils and doing everything to nourish. Little Ho yet is weak, 2 strong tonics will only cause a burden on his body. This is common sense, Madam will not don't know." Liang's face became more ugly, and he opened his mouth, Mother knows it by herself. It must be the negligence of the servants and forgot to remind them." Lu Wanchange said with a smile to Yan Yan, "You think you are not, Mother Lu." Madame Lu quietly looked at the Liang family and saw that she was not looking at her. She understood most of her heart, and bit her head and knelt down. Yes, it is the slave's fault. The slave should be punished." Without waiting for Liang to speak, Lu Wanchange said, "Qingyu, how do you want to punish?" "It's about the dignity of the young Lord Ho, so I have to punish him a little, so as to try to emulate him." Lin Qingyu said, "According to the rules of the Ho mansion, you should be fined for 3 months and work harder for 1 month." Lu Wanchange nodded, "I think it's okay. But I think it's useless. I want my mother to think." Liang reluctantly smiled and said, "Just do what Qingyu said." After that, Liang was obviously absent-minded, and took Madame Lu away for a while. When there were only 2 people left in the room, Lu Wanchange asked, "How did Mother Lu provoke you?" Lin Qingyu said, "She asked me to change my mind twice." "What kind of mouth? Let you call my husband?" Lin Qingyu coldly looked like a jade face. Lu Wanchange laughed, "Dr. Lin, I'm so grudged." Lin Qingyu squinted at him and said, "It's funny." Lu Wanchange held back a smile, "Then I won't laugh." "But how do you know the rules of the Ho mansion?" Lin Qingyu said indifferently, "Mother Lu insisted to tell me that I tried my best not to listen. But the memory is too good, there is no way." Lu Wanchange smiled and said, "Damn it, you pretended it. The author has something to say, salted fish attack, his wife is also beautiful winking." From the persuasive motto "Don't get angry." There were too many things on this day. Before going to bed, Lin Qingyu realized that he had miscalculated. He forgot to ask someone to pack a bed in the study. He originally wanted to sleep at the desk in the study for 1 night, but Lu Wancheng actually let Huala come and invite him to sleep in the room. Lin Qingyu came to the bedroom with a calm face. Lu Wancheng finished drinking the medicine and was about to go to bed. When he saw him, he smiled. "Here." Lin Qingyu asked bluntly, "What do you mean?" Lu Wancheng puzzled, "What do you mean? Didn't you say that we don't have to take this marriage seriously?" "Yes." "Then why do you want me to come back to sleep?" Lu Wancheng smiled clearly and said, "You misunderstood. I didn't ask you to come back to sleep with you." The simple and direct words made Lin Qingyu's face hot. "You are young Master Homen anyway, can you speak more solemnly?" Lu Wancheng solemnly said, "I didn't ask you to come back to sleep with you. After all, no matter how good you look, you are still a man, and I am not a broken sleeve." Lin Qingyu took a deep breath and decided not to care about Lu Wancheng. "Speak straight. I want to rub your blessing." Lu Wancheng thoughtfully, "I always feel that when I'm with you, my body can be easier." Lin Qingyu had a meal. "Are you serious?" Lu Wancheng nodded, "Seriously." The corners of Lin Qingyu's mouth moved slightly, and he laughed out a stupid word. "I didn't expect you to believe this too." He thought that Lu Wancheng was different from other people in Nanan Haofu, but he looked highly. "I didn't believe it more than you, but now I believe it a little bit." Lu Wancheng said slowly, "Dr. Lin, do you believe that people have 3 souls and 6 souls, and the cycle of life and death?" Lin Qingyu resolutely said, "I don't believe it." "Why?" "Because I haven't seen it." "But I have seen it." "That must be your mistake." Lu Wancheng said quietly, "Oh, I know no one believes it." Lin Qingyu twisted her eyebrows, "So, you also believed the nonsense of the national teacher?" If it hadn't been for the birthday 8 character that the national teacher took out, there would be no Kongzi in the back. The name of the national teacher is naturally also on his list of grudges. "Guoshi." Lu Wancheng said in deep thought, "You reminded me that I should go to meet Yu, the Chinese teacher who understands heaven and earth, knows ghosts and gods when I have time." Lin Qingyu said bluntly, "You can let yourself get out of bed first." Although the national teacher has never been contaminated with political affairs, he is also a distinguished status, comparable to the nobles of the sky, and is often called by the sage to accompany him in the palace. Lu Wancheng wanted to see him, only to beg for it. Lu Wancheng returned to his senses and said, "Let's not talk about it yet. Dr. Lin, look at how soft Hua Lu prepared for you." "What is it?" Lin Qingyu only noticed that he slept softly last night, covered with a thick mattress and quilt, and put a soft pillow, which looked like a small bed. Lin Qingyu lost her expression for a while, and she didn't know whether to praise or scold. Lu Wancheng said generously, "I don't mind sleeping with a man, but I'm afraid you would." When Lin Qingyu left home to study, she travelled with her teacher and sometimes fell asleep with her seniors. It's really not a big deal for 2 men with bad style to sleep together, but Lu Wancheng, in the name of his husband, he couldn't get along with Lu Wancheng as a normal man. In any case, sleeping softly is more comfortable than sleeping on a desk. By the way, it can save Liang from the trouble of using questions after he knows that he and Lu Wancheng are in a separate room. Lin Qingyu took notice and said, "I'll go wash first." As the night got deeper, the lights in the home mansion went out one by one. 2 newly married men, one sleeping on the bed, the other lying on the soft collapse, separated by a screen embroidered with a picture of a mandarin duck playing in the water. Lu Wancheng sleeps too much during the day, and he is not too sleepy right now. He folded his hands behind his head and chatted with Lin Qingyu, "Dr. Lin, how old are you this year?" Lin Qingyu closed her eyes, lacking interest, and said, 18. "From a normal perspective, you are probably a few months older than me. How about I call you Brother Yu from now on?" Lin Qingyu asked, "Do you have a headache?" Lu Wancheng felt it. "It doesn't hurt. I thought you had a bad brain and forgot your age." "Hey, how old am I?" Is this man really stupid or pretending to be stupid? Being irritable before going to bed should not be healthy. Lin Qingyu tried his best to calm down. 19. There is such a good thing. Lu Wancheng smiled, then you call me Big Brother Wancheng. Lin Qingyu turned over, leaving only the back of Lu Wancheng's head. Go to sleep, Master Ho, you have everything in your dreams. Lu Wancheng laughed lowly, wondering to himself, a super-tempered beauty, such a sentimental character is not the protagonist. The night was heavy, Lin Qingyu was exhausted physically and mentally, allowing herself to sink into a dream. Dayu emphasizes medicine. In addition to the Imperial Hospital and the Royal Pharmacy in the palace, it also sets up the Imperial Medical Department outside the palace to train and select medical talents. Similar to the Imperial examination, the Imperial Medical Office will report an examination every 3 years. Regardless of the birth level, no matter who the teacher is, as long as they can pass the examination, they can enter the Imperial Medical Office, read the world's strange books, appreciate the treasures of the world, and major famous doctors work together, either enter the palace, or write a book, or travel to other countries to study. The Imperial Medical Office, the sanctuary of the healers, had many people squeezed their heads and wanted to go in. The assessment and selection were extremely strict, and it was not an exaggeration to say that it was 1 in a million. Lin Qingyu is talented, and his teacher once asserted that he must pass the exam. But he still didn't dare to slack off and prepared for this exam for 3 years. It's finally the day of the exam. He and a few classmates waited outside the examination room. The young man was full of spirits, and he was talking and laughing happily. In him, there is no nervousness or anxiety from others. The vermilion door of the examination room slowly opened, and Lin Qingyu's eyes lit up. He walked up the steps step by step and walked towards his ideal sanctuary. Seeing that he was about to touch the beam of light, a strange voice stopped him. It was a man in an eunuch's suit. Lin Qingyu couldn't see his face clearly, only the bright yellow imperial decree he was holding in his hands. The imperial decree is here. Lin Qingyu accepts the decree. Lin Qingyu knelt down and listened to the decree. The other candidates didn't seem to care about this sudden change at all, and walked into the examination room one by one, forming phantoms behind Lin Qingyu. Feng Tian carries the emperor said, Lu Wancheng, son of Nanan Ho, has a valuable character, extraordinary appearance and a weak crown. Today, the Tai hospital judges the son of Lin Zhao seem to be filial and dignified. I would like to marry the two. Auspicious day for the big wedding, thank you for this. Lin Qingyu looked up in amazement, the bright yellow light pierced him, almost unable to open his eyes. The door of the Imperial Medical Office slammed shut. Lin Qingyu suddenly woke up from her dream. In the silence, there was only his breathing. The heartbeat gradually calmed down, but the frustration and unwillingness were like a thick inkstone, which could not dissipate in his heart, and could not dissolve. Dream and reality are not the same. In reality, the who passed the decree went directly to the Lin mansion, after which he was disqualified for the exam. Before the day of the exam, he became the male wife of Nanan Haofu. There was still an hour before dawn, and Lin Qingyu was completely sleepy. He collapsed and wanted to pour himself a cup of tea, when he heard a deliberately lowered moan. It was Lu Wancheng's voice. Lin Qingyu lit a lamp and walked quickly to the bedside. Master Xiahe. Lu Wancheng curled up on the bed, slightly arched, his eyes closed, his face slightly distorted, and his long hair sticking to his face from cold sweat. Lin Qingyu called again, Lu Wancheng. Lu Wancheng opened his eyes lost, Dr. Lin. It's me. Dr. Lin, I feel a little uncomfortable. Lin Qingyu probed Lu Wancheng's pulse and determined that he was the culprit of heart palpitations. I know. Lin Qingyu said gently, rarely, I feel uncomfortable in my chest, isn't it? Lu Wancheng nodded. You can bear it, I will come as soon as I go. Lu Wancheng said weakly, are you going to get a knife? Lin Qingyu was inexplicable. What am I doing with the knife? Missing knife. Lin Qingyu's tone returned to her usual indifference. I am not interested in killing people. But before the wedding, he did give Lu Wancheng a drug, which made him inhumane. If it weren't for Lu Wancheng's good performance on the wedding night, he would first ask him not to take the marriage seriously, otherwise Lu Wancheng might already be half-an now. Lin Qingyu took out a wooden medical box from the box where he put his clothes. There were a lot of his favorite works in it, most of which were poisons. Of course, there were also some good medicines for healing and saving people. Lin Qingyu returned to the bed with a porcelain vase and an acupuncture bag in his hand. This is Zhengzhen pill, which can relieve your palpitations. Would you like to take it? Lu Wancheng said, come live and eat. Lin Qingyu resisted the urge to turn around and leave, and helped Lu Wancheng up and fed Zhengzhen pill into his mouth. Just in case, I will give you 2 more needles. Lu Wancheng seemed to think of the shadow of his youth, holding his arm and trying to get up, prick a needle. It's acupuncture. Oh. Lu Wancheng lay back, then you lighten it. Lin Qingyu, I have to work hard. Lu Wancheng. Lin Qingyu sighed. Acupuncture is a meticulous job, and he must concentrate on it. Dr. Lin, am I going to die again? You can save it if you can, and don't force it. Lu Wancheng sighed, I only slept for a few days and woke up naturally. Shut up. Lin Qingyu sweated from her forehead, her eyes gleamed, and she focused on the first needle. It won't let you die, at least not tonight. After taking medicine and acupuncture, Lu Wancheng's symptoms were relieved, and he fell asleep soon. Lin Qingyu breathed a sigh of relief, raised his eyes and looked out the window. The sky was already white. The next day, after 3 poles of the sun, Lu Wancheng was still not awake. Huolu was so worried, she couldn't help but sniff him. Lin Qingyu saw this and said, if you are so free, go and sweep the ground in the yard. Hua Lu said, young master, master has been sleeping for 6 hours, is this really reasonable? Lin Qingyu didn't take it seriously, the patient sleeps more. Before Huolu was relieved, he said again, but he is really too sleepy. He used to lack sleep. Huolu shook her head, no, the young master is weak, lying in bed all the year round, and always sleeps when he is sleepy. Lin Qingyu was thoughtful upon hearing this. Lu Wancheng didn't woke up until the hour. Lin Qingyu was called by him to the bed and accepted his thanks. Dr. Lin, thank you for having you last night, otherwise I don't know how I died. Seeing that he looked good, Lin Qingyu didn't bother to be merciful anymore, it's natural that he died of illness. Great kindness, no retribution. I have decided, I will do a difficult and troublesome thing for you. Lin Qingyu is indifferent, it's not necessary, you just need to say a few words before going to bed. Hey! Lu Wancheng smiled, are you being dismissed too much? The two were talking, and Feng Qin came in to report, young master and young master, the third young lady is here. The Miss 3 in Feng Qin's mouth was Lu Wancheng's younger sister, whom Lin Qingyu had never seen. Lu Wancheng said slowly as he thought about it, Miss San, what is she here for? Lin Qingyu said, naturally, I'm here to visit the sick. I won't bother your brothers and sisters. Lu Wancheng grabbed his sleeves, look at you who are impatient, I didn't say I want to see her. Feng Qin was surprised, don't you see the young master? You have always had the best relationship. I think the third young lady also brought the knee pads she made by herself. It must be given to the young master. She came here once yesterday, too. Master Ji was asleep, so he went back first. Lin Qingyu has no affection for the people in Nanan Haofu, but Lu Wancheng is not him. My sister came to visit several times, but I can't ignore it as a brother. Lin Qingyu said, if you don't see her this time, she will come next time. My sister, what are you hiding? I didn't hide, I just didn't bother to pretend to be like them, imagining and scheming. Lu Wancheng thought for a while and said, or else, Feng Qin, go back and let her die as me. After speaking, Lu Wancheng turned around, leaving others with a lonely and stubborn back. After a few days of careful raising, no matter what the inside, Lu Wancheng improved a lot on the surface. Lin Qingyu thought he could try to get out of bed and take 2 steps. Lu Wancheng listened to his advice, got out of bed, and took 2 difficult steps. He felt weak in his limbs and weakened all over his body. He lay back and said with peace of mind, there is nothing difficult in the world, as long as you are willing to give up. I choose to give up. Lin Qingyu asked him, could it be that you plan to lie in bed for the rest of the day? Lu Wancheng, is there anything wrong with this? Lin Qingyu, no, you lie down. Lin Qingyu, who believes in diligence, study and practice, can't see Lu Wancheng's half-dead appearance, and hasn't stepped into the house all day. Not seeing is clear. This day is the day when the bride returns to the door. Lin Qingyu does not want to admit that he is a bridal, but he does miss his relatives at home. It was only a few days away from home, but he felt that it was years. Early in the morning, the Liang family sent a steward to the Blue Wind Pavilion. Under the management of Zhang Luo, Jiading moved 2 boxes of gifts, saying that his wife asked Xiaojun to bring them back to her natal family. Huolu was not very young, and said straightforwardly, "What, there are only 2 boxes? Madam married a maid and returned home more than that." The manager smiled and said, "The flower dew girl doesn't understand this. How much gift the bride brings back to the door depends on how much dowry she brings when she gets married. The young gentleman brings less dowry into the mansion, so the return ceremony will naturally follow. Not enough. This is true." When his parents prepared Lin Qingyu's dowry that day, he strongly demanded that there be as little as possible, and it is best not to bring anything. He didn't take any of the antique collections prepared by his father, precious porcelain, gold and silver jewelry prepared by his mother, and deeds to the land. Bringing these to Nananho Mansion will only dirty their Lin Mansion. Lin Qingyu knew that his parents never cared about these extraneous things, and they only asked for his safety and success. He said, "You don't need to bring these 2 boxes." The manager was taken aback, thinking that he had heard it wrong. Xiaojun means, reserve it for Mrs. Ho Ye to use slowly. Although Huolu hasn't married yet, she also knows that it is a matter of face for the bride to return to the door. She persuaded Lin Qingyu, "Young master, you can take as much as you want. If the bride really goes back to her natal house empty-handed, she will definitely be talked about by others. Lin Mansion has been pointed at for less time." Lin Qingyu said lightly, "Let them point." The male style prevailed in this dynasty, and the homes of high-ranking officials more or less raised several male concubines, and even the saint's harem had 1 or 2 male concubines. But after all, a man is a man, unable to have children, so he cannot be a regular wife. De Yu's law states that there is 1 man and 1 woman, monogamy and multiple concubines. If it weren't for saving Lu Wancheng's life, and what the Chinese teacher said, the saint would not violate the ancestral system and give marriage to 2 men. Lin Qingyu was the first male wife to be given a marriage. This alone was enough to make a small Lin mansion famous in the capital and become a post-dinner talk for the powerful in Beijing. The manager was muttering, and he heard Lin Qingyu ask him, "Is the car ready?" "Get ready." "One more thing," Madam asks the younger one to tell young master. The steward cleared his throat and said, "The lady said, the young master is not completely healthy, and the outside is cold. The young master is afraid that he can't stand it, so he doesn't need to accompany him. Young master is back to her family's home." Lin Qingyu calmly said, "Don't worry, I don't plan to take him back." Lin Qingyu got into the carriage alone. Nananho Mansion and Lin Mansion are separated by more than half of the capital, and it takes more than half a day to come and go. When passing Yongxing Street, Lin Qingyu stopped the driver and said, "Wait here." Yongxing Street is the most prosperous street in Beijing. Both sides of the street are full of shops, silk cloth shops, porcelain shops, wine shops, and tea shops, etc. Lin Qingyu walked into a wine shop and ordered 2 pots of good daughter red, and then went to the next dim sum shop to buy a few kilograms of candied snacks. He goes home, it's enough to take these. The Lin mansion knew that Lin Qingyu would go home today, and opened the door early in the morning. When the hour was almost the same, Mother Lin took her young son, and the young man who had followed Lin Qingyu since childhood, stood at the gate of the mansion and waited. Seeing that he was about to get home soon, Lin Qingyu pushed the window of the car, and from a distance he saw a little child bouncing and waving his hands in the carriage. This is his 6-year-old brother, Lin Qinghe. Lin Qingyu's heart tightened for many days finally relaxed. Lin Qingyu stepped out of the carriage, and the younger brother jumped into his arms. Brother. Lin Qinghe was just the age of changing his teeth. 2 of his front teeth were missing, and he would still leak when talking. Master. Xia Si Huantong was excited, as if his master was not coming back from Nanan Haofu, but from the battlefield. Lin Qingyu touched his brother's head, and looked at the gentlewoman on the side. Mother. Mother Lin said with tears in her eyes, it's fine to come back. She looked at the carriage and was quite nervous. Is Xiao Hoye still in the carriage? Lin Qingyu said, Master Xiao Ho is sick in bed and should not go out. He let us treat him as dead. Mother Lin looked shocked. This. Lin Qingyu smiled soothingly, I won't mention anyone else at home. What about my father? A protégé of your father came to visit the mansion today. He is waiting for guests in the hall. Lin Qingyu asked, which student? Lin Mu said, Tan Kizi. Lin Qingyu smiled slightly on her face, I really pick a day. If he doesn't come early or late, he will come when he returns to the house. The Tan family runs the largest pharmacy in Beijing. Tan Kizi is an outside disciple of Father Lin, and Lin Qingyu has some friendship with him. But the friendship is the friendship, if only about preferences. Lin Qingyu does not want to interact with this person too much. This person is always willing to contend with others over and over, and it's really annoying to have too many times. Compared with Tan Kizi, even Lu Wanchange can look lovable. In any case, Lu Wanchange didn't come to make Lin Mu breathe a sigh of relief. She and her husband are only thinking about their sons, and if their son-in-law comes, their family will be cautious. Don't stand at the door, go in, mother has prepared your favorite plum cake. Lin Qingyu asked, did my mother make it by herself? Lin Mu smiled, that's natural, what other people do won't get into your mouth. Lin Qingyu smiled lightly, the coldness of the whole body seemed to have turned into a ray of spring breeze, and the Haofu coachman who was driving the car was stunned. Is this the young gentleman who ignores anyone and treats people all day long? As soon as Lin Qingyu entered the door, he saw Tan Kizi approaching. Brother Qingyu, you can be regarded as waiting for you. Tan Kizi looks good, bookish, and looks like a young talent at first glance. Lin Qingyu nodded to Tan Kizi, and then gave a family salute to the man in charge. Father. Father Lin wouldn't be as happy and angry as Mother Lin did, and his eyes flickered slightly. I'm back. Tan Kizi looked out the door and asked, why are you alone? How about Master Xiaohe? Lin Qingyu said indifferently, he didn't come. Tan Kizi's face was surprised, I have never seen the bride return to the door and the husband does not come with him. Really, you can see it now. Father Lin deliberately said, I think it's because Xiao Hoye has not healed from his illness, so he shouldn't go out. Even if the sickness is not healed and it is not suitable to go out, how can you not even have a letter of worship? Tan Kizi looked at Lin Qingyu unabashedly. Lin Qingyu wore plain white clothes today. He was already thin, with a breeze flowing into his sleeves and a thin waist. Beauty is beauty, but it's too much. A male wife is always on top. Can your husband like it when she sees it? He almost understood that Lin Daimei didn't please her husband and her husband's family. Brother Qingyu is indeed still beautiful, and his appearance is better than that of a woman. Tan Kizi smiled, however, they are all the young masters of the home mansion. Why do they still dress so plainly? Lin Qingyu glanced up and down Tan Kizi's eyes. Naturally, I can't compare with Brother Tan. Brother Tan has purple clothes and a pierced waist. He is very expensive. Who can be more like a high-class man and wife than you? Tan Kizi's face twisted, and he quickly recovered as before. Brother Qingyu joked, mentioning Jao Men. What about Qingyu brothers' return ceremony? Quickly take it out, and let brother see the wealth of Human. Lin Qingyu picked up the 2 pots of her daughter Hong. Here. When Father Lin saw this, he smiled at him. Tan Kizi stared. This is gone. Even if Lin Qingyu fell out of favor, he was still the male wife of the Ho Fu Ming matchmaker. How could the return ceremony be so shabby? There are still a few caddies of candied snacks, Lin Qingyu said lightly. Brother Tan wants to taste it. Lin Qingyu heard that there is candied fruit, and said excitedly, I want to eat candied fruit, thank you brother. Tan Kizi said in a joke, Brother Qingyu has hidden all the good things, don't you want to give it to the teacher and wife? Father Lin said, I think it's so good. Madam, please take the wine to warm it up. Qingyu and I will have a few drinks later. Tan Kizi was embarrassed. Teacher, I'm afraid this is not in compliance. Father Lin asked, how can I not comply with the rules? Tan Kizi wanted to say something but stopped. Brother Qingyu is already a wife, how can I drink alcohol at the same table as a foreigner of mine? Father Lin's expression sank. Even though his eldest son had a prodigious face and married into Homen as a man, he still regarded him as an upright man. But others may not think so. Nanan Haofu has strict rules. Whether a male wife can see a foreigner is open to question, let alone drinking at the same table. It's really not in compliance. Lin Qingyu appeared calm, but in fact he was already thinking about what poison would be worthy of Tan Kizi's mouth. Then Brother Tan, what are you waiting for? Walk slowly and don't give it away. Tan Kizi was dumb and colorless, obviously he hadn't seen a good show, and didn't want to leave for the time being. He smirked and said, it's true that I'm not telling you anymore. When I came to the mansion this time, apart from greeting Master, I also asked for one thing. Before he finished speaking, a steward hurriedly said, Master Madam, Grandpa is here. Lin Qingyu said coldly, who is Auntie? What do you mean? It's Master Xiaohe, said Huan Tong, who was following the steward. It's Master Xiaohe from Nanan Haofu here. At this hour, Lu Wanchange is not sleeping in bed, so what will he do in Lin Mansion? Lin Qingyu calmed down for a moment, I'll go take a look. Father Lin said solemnly, let's go too. In the end, Lu Wanchange's status is noble. If they don't go out to meet them, neglect others, and pass the words of the caring people to Nanan Haofu, Lin Qingyu's situation is afraid it will be more difficult. Tan Kizi rolled his eyes and followed him. As soon as Lin Qingyu arrived in the yard, he saw Lu Wanchange sitting in a wheelchair and being pushed in by a small servant. The two looked at each other. Lu Wanchange curled his lips and smiled, and he was carrying this Highland Yushu. Gentleman Qian, Qingyu, you went back to the Lin mansion, but you didn't take me. Seeing Lin Qingyu's expression touching, he lowered his voice and said, isn't it why you are angry again? At his own house why are you still angry? In the past few days, Lu Wanchange had a color on his face, but his complexion was still paler than ordinary people. He is holding an exquisite heating stove in his hands, a crimson shirt, a snow cape on his head, and snow-white fox fur on his legs, but it is not bloated at all. On the contrary, he is luxurious and handsome, with a jade and metal appearance. When Lu Wanchange was paralyzed on the bed, he looked like a salted fish and got out of the bed, but he looked like a dog. Before Lin Qingyu could speak, his parents walked out. Lu Wanchange turned his eyes slightly, and the young man behind him understood, holding the heater and fox fur in one hand, and supporting him with the other. After Lu Wanchange stood firmly, he bowed to his father and mother Lin and said, I'll see you father-in-law, mother-in-law. My son-in-law is late. Graceful demeanor, generous and decent, is exactly the style that a noble son should have. Lin Qinghe hid behind her brother, staring at Lu Wancheng with wide eyes. Brother, this person looks good. Lin Qinghe looked on coldly, illusion. Father Lin said, you don't need to be polite, Lord Ho, sit down if you are sick. Lu Wancheng got back into the wheelchair, his eyes fell on Tan Kizi. This one is. I have seen Master Xiaohe. Tan Qi said respectfully, Tan Kizi is a protege of the Lin Yuan court. The Changzi and medicine shop in the capital is my house. Lu Wancheng smiled at the corner of his mouth. Hey? What do you often get with? Tan Kizi hurriedly said, Changzai. Lu Wancheng asked again, what is the piece? Tan Kizi vaguely realized that he seemed to have been tricked. Although the identity of the other party is not ordinary, he can only greet him with a smile no matter how he plays him. It's Changzai. What is Changxi? What is this all about? Lin Qingyu interrupted the two of them, the cold wind is bleak. Father and mother, you go into the house. Master Xiaohe just hand it over to me. Mother Lin stretched out her hand towards Lin Qinghe. Qinghe, don't always stick to your brother, come here to my mother. After her parents left, Lin Qingyu asked Lu Wancheng in a low voice, have you taken the wrong medicine? Speaking to Lin Qingyu alone, Lu Wancheng didn't bother to pretend to be any more. With low brows and a tired look, I'm here to support you, Dr. Linear. No need. When something goes wrong, there must be a demon. Lin Qingyu frowned, usually you never get up at this time. Yes, I worked hard for several times to get up successfully. Lu Wancheng smiled, I did this for you, just to repay you for giving me medicine and needles. How is it, are you moved? Lin Qingyu said coolly, no. Lu Wancheng raised his eyebrows, then I go. Lin Qingyu thought about it briefly, and said, all right, you can find an excuse to go back to the home mansion. Lu Wancheng choked, suddenly felt that the world was not worth it, too much brother. The author has something to say, salted fish attack, God, I actually got up early for him. Lu Wancheng's expression was full of great grievances, as if he had gone up the knife mountain, down the sea of fire, and came to Lin Mansion after going through hardships and obstacles. Lin Qingyu wanted to laugh. Lu Wancheng just got up an hour earlier than usual, got out of the house and got out of the carriage, and got out of the carriage to take a wheelchair. What's wrong with this? There was a Tan Kizi who was already bad enough. Seeing that they were about to be driven away, Lu Wancheng came to join in the fun again. He just wants to have a good meal with his family, why is it so difficult? Seeing that Lin Qingyu was unmoved, Lu Wancheng was forced to relieve himself. When the others came, they also brought Eli Lilly, and they pretended to be a little serious, which gave Lin Qingyu a lot of face. He reported the grace of feeding medicine and needles, and it was good to go back home to sleep. It was really cold outside, and it was tiring to pretend to be good. Lu Wancheng shrugged, okay, then I'll say that I'm in a hurry. Before Lin Qingyu could reply, a little head poked out from the back room. Brother, why aren't you coming in yet? Lin Qinghe said, casting a curious look at Lu Wancheng. Lu Wancheng smiled back at him. Lin Qingyu said, come on, and said to Lu Wancheng, then you. Lu Wancheng said, according to the etiquette, should I go and tell your parents to be alone? Lin Qingyu snorted coldly, you don't understand etiquette, why do you still ask me? Lu Wancheng smiled and said, Dr. Lin said that, it seems that I just pretended to be pretty good. Lin Qingyu pushed Lu Wancheng into the house, and the Lin family had already reserved a place for Lu Wancheng. The charcoal basin is burning in the hall, which is warmer than the outside without making people feel dull. The fragrance of wine is diffused, and 2 winter bamboo bonsais are placed in the corner, adding a sense of elegance and freshness. The Lin family's taste is light, and the dishes on the table are mainly light. There was also a pastry with light red in the white, like red and white plums entwined in one place, making Lu Wanchanj couldn't help but look at it 2 more times. Father Lin said, Master Xiaohe, please hear. Lu Wanchanj paused and said with a smile, I won't eat dinner anymore. I'm here to say goodbye to my father-in-law and my mother-in-law. Oh. Tan Kizi glanced at Lin Qingyu meaningfully. Why is Xiaohe going to leave when he comes, and he doesn't even eat any food? Lu Wanchanj coughed and said, I'm afraid I won't be able to support it for long, so I have to go back and lie down, just laughed. Lin Mu said, it will take an hour to go from Lin Mansion to Nananho Mansion. The carriage is bumpy. It is better for Master Xiaohe to rest at the mansion first, and then go back when we meet. Lu Wanchanj said, this. Qingyu, what do you think? Lin Qingyu looked at Lu Wanchanj's eyes with a bit of joking. Lu Wanchanj didn't need to use a temporary emergency as an excuse, but said that he was unwell and wanted to go back to rest. Anyone with a brain can see his intentions. This was in the Lin Mansion. His father was a judge of the Imperial Hospital. Although the official position is not high, he is a close minister to the emperor. He is in charge of taking care of the saint in the palace. Yuji cannot be overstated. It was already clear to say that he was unwell in front of him. Lin Qingyu saw through but didn't pierce through, it's up to you. Lu Wanchanj said, then I would be more respectful than fate. Before entering the table, Lin Qingyu pushed Lu Wanchanj to the side to clean his hands, and said, after dinner, let my father take the pulse for you. Lu Wanchanj is optional, it's not necessary, I'm terminally ill, it can't be cured. Lin Qingyu sneered, don't pretend, isn't it that you stayed for this? Lu Wanchanj washed his hands slowly, and said calmly, no, I just want to taste the plum cake, it looks delicious. I'm a little hungry. Putting it on other people, Lin Qingyu would never believe this kind of nonsense. But what Lu Wanchanj said, he actually thought it was true. For slackers, besides sleeping, eating is naturally more important. Lin Qingyu turned around and saw that Tan Kizi was still there. He didn't bother to whistle around with him anymore, and said bluntly, you can't drink at the same table with me, why don't you leave? Tan Kizi seemed to be prepared for a long time, and smiled, today I have the honor to witness Xiaohe's demeanor. I personally think that Xiaohe's grandfather is bright, and he has a broad mind. Intervene. I just want to offer a few glasses of wine to the teacher, Xiaohe wouldn't mind. Lu Wanchanj smiled and said, of course. It's all men, don't be too restrictive. Lin Qingyu glanced at Lu Wanchanj coldly, regretting that Lu Wanchanj didn't use acupuncture on him that night for a few more years. If success is not enough, there is more than failure, Lu Wanchanj will really make trouble for him. Before Tan Kizi took the seat, Lu Wanchanj suddenly asked, Brother Tan was ever married? Tan Kizi said, back to Xiaohe, it has been 3 years since I got married in Xia. Lu Wanchanj said regretfully, then your wife wouldn't be angry if she knew that you were drinking at the same table with us. During the dinner, everyone looked at each other. Tan Kizi asked puzzledly, why is my wife angry? Lu Wanchanj said, you are drinking at the same table with a male wife and a man who has married a male wife. This does not seem to be compliant. Lin Qingyu glanced at him, only to feel that bad water was brewing in his eyes. The smile on Tan Kizi's face almost couldn't hold back. Master Xiaohe said and laughed, how can my wife be angry about this? That's hard to say. Lu Wanchanj chuckled lightly, for the harmony of Brother Tan's house, in my opinion, let's forget today's wine. Next time, next time. Lu Wanchanj's chase was so that even 60-year-old Lin Qinghe could hear it, let alone these adults. Lin Qinghe raised his head and asked Mother Lin, Mother, is this person leaving? Mother Lin said, this. Tan Kizi prides himself on being a scholar, and the scene is so embarrassing that he has to find himself no matter how thick-skinned he is, Today is the first time King Yu brother returned to her family home after his marriage. I am indeed a stranger. Say goodbye first, and come to visit the teacher and Master Xiaohe the next day. Father Lin didn't keep him, and ordered Huan Tong to see off the guests. Tan Kizi walked to the door and heard Lu Wanchen's voice floating behind him. One thing was almost forgotten. King Yu walked in a hurry today and forgot the 5-car return ceremony. Fortunately, I found out in time and killed someone. Bringing Li, now the carriage stopped at the gate of Lin Mansion. Tan Ki gritted his teeth and tore off the jade pendant around his waist. According to seniority, Lin's father took the lead, Lin's mother was second, and Lin Qingyu and Lu Wancheng sat in the same place. I saw the two of them whispering softly and the other listening, seeming to be whispering something that cannot be done for outsiders, just like a newlywed couple, like a glue-like young couple, seeing Mother Lin and Father Lin exchange a complicated look. As everyone knows, their dialogue is like this: Lin Qingyu, who asked you to bring something, take it back later. Lu Wancheng, I know you think the things in the Nananho mansion are dirty, but these are all worthy of money. You are alive, why can't you get along with the money? When I die, you will take the Lu family's silver to eat, drink, and spicy. Jin Mukang Jiao, wouldn't it be great to see them crying to my grave? Lin Qingyu imagined the scene for a moment, squinted his eyes, turned his head and ordered the next person, tell someone to move things into the house. Lu Wancheng happily stretched out his hand to clamp the plum cake he had coveted for a long time. That's right. After the meal, Father Lin took the initiative to say, I have heard a little about the condition of Lord Ho. If Lord Ho can believe it, can you let me take a look? Lu Wancheng put on a surprised expression, I can't ask for it. Father Lin nodded and said, Master Xiaohe, please come with me. Lin Qingyu pushed Lu Wancheng to Father Lin's study. After Lin's hands were cleaned, he took out a pulse pillow made of a warm jade and placed it under Lu Wancheng's wrist and closed his eyes to explore the pulse. For a while, the room was silent, and there was nothing to tell from Father Lin's expression. After exploring the veins, Father Lin asked Lu Wancheng a few more questions, and Lu Wancheng answered them one by one. Father Lin said, the root of Xiaohe's disease is born with him. It is easy to treat the symptoms but difficult to cure the root cause. On weekdays, you must recuperate meticulously, and don't think deeply about hard work. Father Lin's words are ambiguous, but they are just commonplace. Lu Wancheng didn't ask much, and smiled tiredly, there is father-in-law Lao. The guest room has been cleaned up, Master Xiaohe can go to take a nap. Father Lin said, Qingyu, you can stay for a while. Lin Qingyu nodded, and let his servant push Lu Wancheng out first. When Lu Wancheng left, Father Lin asked, have you ever seen Master Xiaohe's illness? Seen. How do you feel? Lin Qingyu said, it is a blessing for Lu Wancheng to live to be 19 years old. Now he just hangs on one breath, and when the breath dissipates, he will end up too. Father Lin nodded in agreement and asked, how long do you expect him to be? Half a year. Father Lin pondered for a long time and said, I have a method that may save his life for 1 year, but the side effects are so great that it may aggravate the pain of the patient. Lin Qingyu thought without hesitation, what method? I will write the prescription to you later. Father Lin looked into Lin Qingyu's eyes, the question is, do you want him to live for half a year? You still need to ask? The sooner Lu Wancheng died, the quicker he would be free. For half a year, he didn't have the patience to wait for half a year. So, of course he didn't want to. Lin Qingyu absently walked out of the study, and met Mother Lin hidden to give Father Lin refreshments after dinner. Mother Lin told him that Lu Wancheng had already taken a rest in the guest room. Are you going to see him? Mother Lin asked. Lin Qingyu said, no, let him rest. Mother Lin hesitated and asked, Qingyu, Master Xiaohe, how are you doing to you? It doesn't matter whether it's good or bad, Lin Qingyu said lightly, it can't be more than half a year's fate. Lin Qingyu returned to the mansion this time, planning to take another box of medical books to Nananho Mansion. When he arrived in his study, he saw Tan Qizi and Huan Tong looking around at the door, frowning. "Why haven't you left?" Huan Tong explained, "Young Master Tan said that his jade pendant was lost in our mansion, and I was looking for it with him. The search is also in the front hall. I came to my study specifically, I must have something to say." Tan Qizi didn't refute. Sure enough, Brother Qingyu can't hide anything. It's true that he suddenly remembered an important matter for the brother, and it is not easy to return to bother. This is the reason for the loss of the jade pendant and stay in the house to wait. Lin Qingyu and this kind of people are too much to say one more word, say. Tan Qizi's face was bitter. Brother Qingyu must also know that he is getting closer and closer to the examination of the Imperial Medical Office, and this brother has no bottom in his heart. Lin Qingyu knew that Tan Qizi wanted to touch his inverse scale and pierce his heart with a knife. I have to say that this trick is pretty clever. The trial of the Imperial Medical Office has always been a thorn in his heart, and he feels depressed when he touches it. But this doesn't mean that anyone can take this matter to show his power in front of him. You failed the ranking once 3 years ago, and you should have no idea. Tan Qizi was poked in the painful spot, gritted his teeth and smiled. For this assessment, I am studying hard day and night. Lin Qingyu praised, the stupid bird flies first, diligence can make up for the clumsiness, and it does a good job. Tan Qizi finally couldn't stretch himself, his face as black as the bottom of a pot. Lin Qingyu seemed to praise him every word, and mock him every word. A proud man like Lin Qingyu, a person with outstanding qualifications, didn't know how much ordinary people would have to pay a little bit to catch up with him. At least I can go to the exam again this year. Tan Qizi stared at Lin Qingyu's face. I know that Brother Qingyu has a lot of medical books, but you don't need it anymore. Why don't you borrow a few books for your brother? If you can get to high school in the future, you will definitely thank you. Lin Qingyu raised her eyes and asked, "My book, can you understand it?" After that, he turned around and said, "Huan Tong, see off the guests." In a blink of an eye, the sky darkened. The coachman from the home mansion handed over and said it was the time to return to the mansion. Mother Lin put the prepared snacks into the food box and let Lin Qingyu take back. I was just in the dinner room. I saw that Master Xiaoho also likes to eat plum cakes, so I took a few more. If it's cold today, the cakes won't break easily after a long time. Lin Qingyu said, he probably has nothing he doesn't like to eat. Mother Lin smiled softly, Master Xiaohe hasn't gotten up yet, go and call him. Lin Qingyu came to the guest room and saw that Lu Wanchanj was awake, lying on the bed in a daze. He asked, when did you wake up? Half an hour ago. Then what are you doing? Lu Wanchanj wrapped himself in the quilt, only showing his eyes and looking at Lin Qingyu. His voice was dull, like the bed. It's so cold outside, I don't want to get up, I want to be a blanket. Lin Qingyu stopped talking nonsense, grabbed the corner of the quilt and opened it vigorously, with a cold tone, I am not the maid in your room, this trick is useless to me. Lu Wanchanj stood up and was not angry when the quilt was lifted. What trick? I didn't use any tricks against you. He saw that Lin Qingyu's face was wrong, and then asked, didn't Tan Qizi have left? Who provoke you again? Ns. Unmanned. Lu Wanchanj blinked, oh. Lin Qingyu was silent, and then she was silent, but finally couldn't hold back. Tan Qizi is preparing for the examination of the Imperial Medical Department, and he is also borrowing books from me. Lu Wanchanj laughed, that's it. Lin Qingyu's eyes were like knives and blades. Lu Wanchanj tried to reason with Lin Qingyu, Tan Qizi can't even compare to a single strand of your hair. If you feel true to him, you will lose your identity. Just treat him as a joke. Let's have fun. I don't know. Lin Qingyu laughed at herself. But a few years ago, one of the people from Jiayang in Tanchi couldn't tell the difference between Tiankuiz and Cyperus rotundus. He could still take the examination of the Imperial Medical Office, but I couldn't try ridiculous. Lu Wanchanj said helplessly, yes, it's all the fault of Nanan Haofu. I will try to die early and let you be a widow before the examination of the Imperial Medical Office, okay? Lin Qingyu closed her eyes and said nothing, her slender and thick eyelashes trembling slightly. Lu Wanchanj stayed with Lin Qingyu in silence for a while, then smiled suddenly, okay, don't get angry. It's rare to go home, be happy, smile more, hey. Lin Qingyu is indifferent, I don't like to laugh by nature. Hey, why are you getting more and more angry? I have a 7-character mantra, which is my motto. It may be helpful to you. I want to listen to you. Do not listen. Just listen, you don't get tired. Lin Qingyu pressed her eyebrows, if you want to talk, just talk about it, paving the way for so much nonsense. Lu Wanchan's eyes were sincere, being a human being, don't compare too much. Lin Qingyu. The author has something to say, Lin Dai Mei, I want to be a widow every day. After everything was cleaned up, Lin Qingyu and Lu Wanchanj bid farewell to Lin's father and Lin mother and returned to Nanan Ho Mansion. Everyone in Lin Mansion sent them to the gate of the mansion. Lu Wanchanj got into the carriage first, so that Lin Qingyu could say goodbye to his family. Although Lin Mansion and Nanan Ho Mansion are both in the capital, it is not easy for Homen Shaojun to return to her natal family. According to the rules, he must at least obtain permission from the master's mother. After a year, he returns home only a few times. Lin Qinghe's eyes were red because of her reluctance. Lin Qinghe took her brother's hand and refused to let go, but the most emotional one was Huan Tong, who grew up with Lin Qingyu. When Lin Qingyu got married, Huan Tong wanted to follow him to Nanan Ho Mansion. Lin Qingyu forced him to stay in Lin Mansion for his future. Huan Tong has no father and no mother. He was sold to the Lin Mansion as soon as he could remember. When he grew up, following the young master and serving the young master were the only things he could do. Lin Qingyu is not in the house. He doesn't know what he should do. He feels muddled for the rest of the day, and he seems to have lost meaning when he lives. Finally, he hoped that Lin Qingyu would return to the mansion. He cried with his nose and tears. He wanted to follow Lin Qingyu back to the Ho Mansion all his life, and he also asked Mother Lin to speak for him, you have no trustworthy person in the Ho Mansion now. I'd better take Huan Tong, and your father and I can feel a little more at ease. Lin Qingyu waited over and over, and finally nodded, Huan Tong, you pack up and get in the car. Huan Tong burst into laughter just now. Lin Qingyu got into the carriage and briefly talked about Huan Tong with Lu Wanchanj. Lu Wanchanj smiled casually, this is a happy event. Lanfenga is now a girl, and the yin spirit is too heavy. Lin Qingyu sighed, I just don't want him to be trapped in the house like me. Lu Wanchanj disagrees, what's wrong with being trapped in the inner house? For a person like you, it is sleepy, but for me please let me stay in the inner house forever, thank you. Lin Qingyu turned his head, different ways are not conspiring. The carriage moved, and Lin Qingyu watched the family's figure gradually go away through the window. Goodbye, brother. Lin Qinghe waved his little hand and saw Lu Wanchanj, and then plucked up the courage to say, goodbye, brother Wanchanj. Lu Wanchanj smiled, goodbye Xiao Qinghe. Closing the car window, he said to Lin Qingyu, your brother seems to like me very much. Lin Qingyu nodded, Qinghe has had the problem of judging people by appearance since he was a child. I have thought of many ways to correct him, but it is a pity that he still only likes to be close to people with outstanding looks. Lu Wanchanj raised the corners of his lips, I seem to hear someone complimenting me on my beauty. Lin Qingyu glanced at him and said, you, really okay? Although he couldn't agree with Lu Wanchanj's behavior at all, his face barely caught the eye. Lu Wanchanj was startled. It seemed that Lin Qingyu would praise him. Even if Lin Qingyu didn't think it was praise, he was just telling the truth. At this time, Lu Wanchenj became humble. I'm overwhelmed, the first beauty. Lin Qingyu asked, who is the first beauty? You. Lin Qingyu frowned, there is no such saying. The world is so big, there is no wonder, who can guarantee that I have met all the people? Since I have never seen it, how can I compare it? Lu Wanchenj smiled lightly and said, she told me that someone had seen it before. Lin Qingyu naturally would not believe such nonsense, absurd. Lu Wanchenj smiled unabatedly and touched his chin and said, she also told me that my face is in the whole book. I should be able to rank in the top 5 in Daewoo. But I think it's pretty average, better than me. It was much worse. He started talking nonsense again. Lin Qingyu closed her eyes and meditated, isolating Lu Wanchenj's voice from her ears. Not surprisingly, the Liang family should have known about Lu Wanchenj's trip to the Lin mansion with Wu Chailai, and I don't know how she felt or whether she would take the opportunity to find something. In theory, this matter has nothing to do with him, and the Liang family is looking for her son. However, the Liang family always spoiled Lu Wanchenj on the surface, fearing that he would not discuss this theory with him. Tomorrow he goes to greet the Liang family, and he will probably be raised by the sidelines. Thinking of this, Lin Qingyu felt irritated. Back at Nananho Mansion, Lu Wanchenj was carried out of the car sleepily. Huan Tong pushed Lu Wanchenj to follow Lin Qingyu, and looked around curiously. When approaching the Blue Wind Pavilion, Lu Wanchenj was almost awake, yawning and said, it seems that I have gone the wrong way. This is clearly the way back to the Blue Wind Pavilion. Lin Qingyu said to Huan Tong, don't pay attention to him, continue walking. Lu Wanchenj put his hand on the armrest of the wheelchair, leaning on his forehead. According to the rules, when we come back from the Lin mansion, shouldn't we go and ask my mother for a piece before returning to the room? Lin Qingyu paused and looked back at him. According to the rules, you should still get up early every day to please her. Have you gone? I didn't go. Lu Wanchenjiang supported, so I should go even more when I am awake now. Lin Qingyu was suspicious. On weekdays, when Liang comes to visit the Blue Wind Pavilion, Lu Wanchenj either talks to her perfunctorily, or says that she is unwell and it is inconvenient to see people. Please and has never been there before. It is conceivable how this relationship between mother and child is. Today, Lu Wanchenj was sick and left the house for a day, and after sitting in the carriage for a long time, he was obviously very tired. At this time, he actually offered to greet the Liang family. Could it be? Lin Qingyu had a faint guess, and said, Master Xiaohou is very filial, so let's go. The two arrived at Liang's yard. The Liang family had just run out of supper, when they heard that they had come to greet them, and they had a refreshment. Lin Qingyu pushed Lu Wanchenj to greet her. Seeing that Lu Wanchenj's face was not good, the corners of her eyebrows and eyes were full of fatigue, and she said distressed, although it is natural for the husband to accompany the lady back to the door, but Wan Cheng is a patient in the end, even if he doesn't go, Lin Mansion will definitely be able to understand. Lu Wanchenj smiled and said, Qingyu said the same. He set off without telling me to prevent me from going. Mother, do you think he should be punished? Lin Qingyu raised her eyebrows. Lu Wanchenj. It was indeed for this matter. Liang looked towards Lin Qingyu, paused without a trace, and said softly, Qingyu is thinking about your body, what's the penalty for this? Lu Wanchenj chuckled, my mother said so I won't be punished. But let's not take it as an example, can't you leave me alone, Qingyu? Lin Qingyu feels complicated, yet. Lu Wanchenj chatted with the Liang family a few more, seemingly inadvertently mentioned the return ceremony. Qingyu's return gift was taken from the birth mother's dowry, so I didn't tell her mother in advance. Mother should don't mind. Liang smiled, took a sip of the tea, and said, those are left to you by your biological mother. Naturally, it's up to you. The Liang family was not Lu Wanchen's biological mother. Lin Qingyu had heard of it earlier. Lu Wanchen's biological mother was Nananho's original spouse, and was the daughter of Wen Qiagong, the nobleman in Beijing. Wen Qiagong has two daughters, one married into Nanan Haofu, and the other is the current queen of the palace. Lu Wanchen was born in the home mansion and had a prominent grandfather's family. He had a promising future. It is a pity that his biological mother died due to dystocia and blood collapse during delivery. He was also weak in the fetus, frail and sickly, and was judged to live less than 20 at birth. Nananho felt sorry for his eldest son and exhausted his efforts to treat him. He did not dare to teach him as strictly as a normal son. Later, he married Liang Suxian for the sake of having a son and a daughter. Lu Wanchen has been raised by the Liang family since he was a child, and the Liang family puts Lu Wanchen first in everything. Not his mother-in-law is better than his mother, at least before Lin Qingyu got married, the matchmaker told him this way. After returning from the Liang family, Lu Wanchen almost reached the limit, and lay flat after drinking the medicine. Lin Qingyu also rested on the collapse, and the two people were still separated by the screen where the mandarin ducks were playing in the water. Lin Qingyu recalled all the things today, and couldn't help asking, "Master Xiaohe, are you asleep?" Lu Wanchen's voice came from behind the screen, "Not yet." "Why, want to talk to me Bing Zuoye?" Lin Qingyu said slowly, "Actually, you are not a stupid person." "Of course I am not." Lu Wanchen said, "Funny. What are you thinking about? When I was studying, I was always the first name." Lin Qingyu didn't believe it. "You lazy bones can still get the first name." Lu Wanchen's voice faded. "Well, there is no conflict between being tired of learning and being the first name. How to say? There are some things that I hate to do, but I know that doing it will be good, so I will force myself to do it. This is the case for studying, and the same is true for going to an announcement." Lin Qingyu thought for a while, and then asked, "But you have been recuperating since you were born, so how can you have a chance to study with others?" Lin Qingyu waited for a while, but before Lu Wanchen could respond, he knew that he had gone to sleep. Out of the first month, every day is getting warmer, and the most difficult winter for the patient is finally over. When the days were warm, Lu Wanchen's body was obviously better, and he didn't need to rely on a wheelchair to get in and out. In addition to sleeping, he also likes walking the birds, watching flowers, throwing pots, watching dramas. In short, he likes all things that can be fun without him having to move. On this day, Lin Qingyu dispenses medicine according to the prescription in the study. The prescription was written to him by his father the day he returned. He wanted to figure out the mystery. As for whether to use it for Lu Wanchen, he hadn't decided yet. In this prescription, several medicines are toxic, which will cause extra pain to patients after taking them. I wonder if there are other relatively mild medicines that can replace them. A crisping cry interrupted Lin Qingyu's thoughts. The voice turned softly, and it was enjoyable to listen to it in his leisure time, but it would only be annoying when it came out when he was focused. Lin Qingyu didn't want to bother. He closed his eyes and tried to sync his heart. But the warbler's cry was endless, and with the bursts of laughter, Lin Qingyu couldn't bear it, got up and opened the window, and said coldly to someone who was walking the bird, "Master Xiaohe, please take care of your bird." Lu Wanchen heard the sound and looked back, carrying the golden birdcage in his hand. Except for Huan Tong, surrounded by a group of Ying Ying Yanyan, all the little maids in the blue wind pavilion, attracted by the singing thrush bird in the birdcage. "Come." Behind him is a golden peach blossom that blooms prematurely. "It's Dr. Lin." Lu Wanchen talked to him through the window. The spring breeze blew, and his final voice was full of smiles. "Would you like to tease my bird?" Lu Wanchen's face was still sickly pale, thin and clear, and his demeanor was lazy and casual, like a drunken jade mountain, but Lin Qingyu felt a different breath. He felt inexplicably that Lu Wanchen shouldn't be the look of such a weak wind, but a young man who ridden on a leaning bridge on horseback with red sleeves all over the building. "I'm busy." Lin Qingyu said, "Can you keep your voice down?" Lu Wancheng said, "I'm sorry. But you have spent most of the day in the study, so you should rest." Huan Tong agreed, "That's right, Master, the sun is so good today, you can listen to the thrush singing with us." "I'm sorry, I won't be with you." Lin Qingyu finished speaking and closed the window with a slam. Lu Wancheng regretfully said, "Your young master can be really boring sometimes." Huan Tong and Lu Wancheng were playing together, still facing their young master in their hearts. "That's because we are in the home mansion." When in the Lin mansion, the young master was not like this. Lu Wancheng thought that Lin Qingyu had studied with his teacher for many years, and said, "You are right." After that, he smiled again, "But even if he is boring, I think." Without speaking, there was a violent collision in the study. Everyone hurriedly pushed the door and entered, only to see Lin Qingyu leaning against the bookshelf, with several medical books scattered around, and a fallen wooden stool. Huan Tong said anxiously, "Master, are you okay?" Lin Qingyu calmly said, "It's okay, I just accidentally stepped into the air when I put the book." He looked uncomfortable when he saw so many people around the door. "You have nothing to do." Lu Wancheng held his arm and said with a smile, "Don't be shy, it's beautiful for a beauty to fall." "No fall, just a sprain." Lin Qingyu couldn't help snorting when the sharp pain hit. "Help me to the bedroom, where there is medicine." "How can you walk like this?" Lu Wancheng said, "I will take you." Lin Qingyu said in surprise, "You? What's wrong with Lu Wancheng? Suddenly lost count of your weak body?" Lu Wancheng slid his hand to his waist and hugged him up. With this hug, Lu Wancheng's face changed slightly, and his figure shook abruptly. He almost fell down with the person in his arms. Fortunately, Huan Tong held him on the side. Lin Qingyu paled with pain, "I beg you, don't toss me." Lu Wancheng has never been as calm as he is now. "I am not. I'll come on Xiaohui. I'm strong." Lu Wancheng watched Huan Tong easily pick up Lin Qingyu on his back and ran to the bedroom quickly. He suddenly laughed and said, "Damn it! The author has something to say, is he still a man if he can't hold his wife?" Laughing loudly. JPG. Huan Tong put Lin Qingyu back into the room and placed it on the soft collapse. Lin Qingyu asked him to take out the medical box from the cabinet and find the medicine for bruises and sprains. Huolu saw Lin Qingyu burst into a cold sweat from the side of the pain, and said anxiously, "Would you like to find a doctor for young master?" Huan Tong took off Lin Qingyu's shoes and said, "What stupid things are said, my young master is the best doctor." Lin Qingyu poured the potion into her palm, rubbing the sprained part, and the light fragrance of potion spread in the bedroom. Huolu said, "Sayajun, let me massage it for you?" "I can massage it for you." "No need." Lin Qingyu endured the pain. "You go to a basin of well water, soak the kerchief, and I have to apply a cold compress for half an hour after using the medicine." Lin Qingyu rubbed the wound, suddenly felt that the room was too quiet. "Where is the person who talks the most?" Lin Qingyu raised his head and saw Lu Wancheng sitting at the table, his expression dark and unhappy. Thinking that Lu Wancheng almost fell, Lin Qingyu asked him, "Did you have bruises?" Lu Wancheng shook his head and said, "Is your injury okay? The problem is not big, you can recover after 3 days of recuperation." Lu Wancheng smiled, "That's good." Lin Qingyu said indifferently, "Originally, I only had to raise my sprain for 2 days, but I fell like that by you." Lu Wancheng hid his face in pain, "Stop talking, I was wrong." In order to make up for his fault, Lu Wancheng generously gave up the wheelchair to Lin Qingyu. However, Lin Qingyu didn't appreciate it. He only let Huan Tong take care of her, and let Huan Tong take whatever she needed. When it was really unavoidable to walk, let Huan Tong help him to walk. Huolu was waiting for Lu Wancheng to drink the medicine. Lin Qingyu was wearing a white dress. With the help of Huan Tong, she walked slowly on the table with one hand. Her long hair fell on her shoulders, and her eyebrows were slightly frowning. Feeling pity, Lu Wanchange asked Yu, does it look good? Huolu nodded honestly, it looks good. Young master is injured as if it is not the same as usual. Lu Wanchange looked at Lin Qingyu and drank the terribly bitter medicine in one go. This is called battle against the beauty. After nightfall, Lin Qingyu reads on the soft collapse as usual, and the big bed behind the screen sometimes hears the movement of turning over, making him unable to read at ease. Normally at this time, Lu Wanchange had already fallen asleep, and he didn't know what it was today. Hearing another sigh, Lin Qingyu asked, Master Xiaohou is indifferent to fame and fortune, regardless of gain or loss. What can make you frown late at night and sigh? After a period of silence, the screen showed Lu Wanchange's figure slowly sitting up, desolate and lonely. My fucking, can't even hold you. Lin Qingyu. Is Lu Wanchange awake at night because of this kind of thing? Lu Wanchange said quietly, this is more terrifying than a ghost story. These words aroused Lin Qingyu's curiosity, where do you have confidence, think you can hold me? Lu Wanchange couldn't understand, your waist is so thin, you definitely can't weigh it, so why can't I hold it? Lin Qingyu didn't bother to take into account Lu Wanchange's inexplicable self-esteem, and said honestly, the body you have now walks for a little longer and you will pant 3 steps and 3 steps. The strength of the flower dew is stronger than you. Little Howie, a person is worth knowing. I'm so angry. Lu Wanchange pounded the bed heavily, even Huan Tong will do, but I can't. Huan Tong has been working hard for many years, what is your comparison with him? Lu Wanchange got out of bed with anger, put on fox fur, and walked out from behind the screen. I am taller than him. Lin Qingyu put down the book and looked at him, Master Xiaohe. What? Lin Qingyu vividly imitated Lu Wanchange's tone, being a human being, don't compare too much. Lu Wanchange was speechless for a while, and completely lost the power to refute. Lin Qingyu's mouth couldn't help but curl up with his flat expression. In fact, Lin Qingyu laughed a lot, but most of the time it was sneer and sneer. It was the first time Lu Wanchange saw him with a smile like this. Lin Qingyu was half lying on the limp in the not-so-bright light, with the blue silk hanging down on her chest, holding a book in her hand, taking off all precautions and indifference, and quietly watching you smile. Lu Wanchange suddenly understood what is meant by beauty in the bone but not in the skin. He couldn't help lowering his voice, for fear of disturbing Lin Qingyu. Are you still in pain? Lin Qingyu's attention returned to the book. It's okay. Lu Wanchange sat down beside Ruan Suo and said, you are also a patient now. Go to bed and sleep. Lin Qingyu thought that Lu Wanchange was going to exchange with him. He went to bed, and Lu Wanchange came to sleep softly. No, you are more sick than me. Lu Wanchange took it for granted, so I also sleep in bed. Lin Qingyu had a fingertip, and simply refused, no. Neither you nor I are good men, what are you afraid of? Lin Qingyu turned the book calmly, I'm afraid you will press my hair. Lu Wanchange never expected that Lin Qingyu would use this excuse to reject him, and couldn't help but smile. You haven't slept with me, why do you think I will press your hair? Because you sleep poorly. Then you try it with me anyway, you'll know if you try. Don't try. You are too much. Lu Wanchange accused, you can't mix the me you imagined with the real me. Lin Qingyu raised her eyes to look at him, pretending to be cold and stern. Master Xiaohe, no matter how nonsense you are, I can make you unable to say a word for 3 days. Do you believe it or not? Believe why don't you believe it? Lu Wanchange cursed and went back to the bed to lie down. You dare to attack the femme fatale of Donggong, you can't do anything. Lin Qingyu's injury spread to Liang's ears. The Liang sent a maid to greet her, which was a superficial effort. There was also a Facetoffice maid who went to the Blue Wind Pavilion and gave Lin Qingyu some plasters, saying that this was the secret recipe passed down by their aunt's ancestors, and it had miraculous effects on sprains. Lin Qingyu asked, "Your aunt?" "It's me and Yuezai's Aunt Pan," the maid smiled. "Young master thinks he hasn't seen her yet." In the high gate of Jingzhong, Nananho's inner house is considered to be less crowded. In addition to his wife, Nananho also had 2 or 3 concubines. Liang's management is good, and his concubines keep themselves safe. Although Lin Qingyu is a young gentleman, he is a man after all. There is a difference between men and women, and unless you celebrate the new year, you generally don't see these concubines. Lin Qingyu smelled the ointment. It was indeed a good medicine. But he and Aunt Pan had never known each other and didn't want to owe this favor. Lin Qingyu was about to refuse. Lu Wancheng walked out of the inner hall and spoke for him, "Leave the medicine, thank you my aunt for us." Lin Qingyu didn't say anything with others around. After the maid left, without waiting for Lin Qingyu's question, Lu Wancheng said, "Aunt Pan has no bad thoughts, she is cowardly and honest. You can give her some face, and maybe she will go to your camp in the future." Lin Qingyu asked, "Little Howie never asks about the inner house, how can he know which is good or bad?" Lu Wancheng said half-truth and half-truth, "Because I, like Dahu's national teacher, can observe the sky at night and predict the future." Lin Qingyu has been married to the Human for some time, and he knows that although Lu Wancheng looks unreliable, he has never been malicious towards him. There were hundreds of people in Nananho Mansion, and only Lu Wancheng was barely worthy of his trust. He didn't want to get along with Lu Wancheng calmly, but Lu Wancheng was only serious for 3 moments, and he somehow believed that the ill-spoken problem would be corrected when he was able to fix it. "Then you can watch the sky at night," Lin Qingyu said indifferently, "don't make trouble with me." Lu Wancheng just pretended not to hear Lin Qingyu's order to evict guests, and fiddled with the plaster sent by Aunt Pan, and said, "Do you remember the acupuncture bag that I wanted to give you but was ruthlessly rejected by you? That was sent by Aunt Pan. The wedding gift was sewn by her herself." Lin Qingyu was a little surprised, "Really? Pan's repeated goodwill to him, is it really good intentions, or has another plan?" Lin Qingyu was thinking. Her ankle was suddenly held by someone and lifted up. He looked at Shang Lu Wancheng's gaze, and said in confusion, "What are you doing?" "Help you stick the medicine." Lin Qingyu earned a little, "No need, let go." Lu Wancheng held his ankle to prevent him from moving, and said with a smile, "You are welcome, I have a good set of stickers, and I promise to help you stick it beautifully. Get up and drive." Lin Qingyu only used a 7-point effort, and easily broke free from Lu Wancheng's hands, and helped Huan Tong to walk away. Lu Wancheng looked down at his hand, resentful in his eyes, as if he was about to suffocate. Lin Qingyu's sprain has been healed after 3 days of recuperation. Lu Wancheng was tired of listening to the thrush singing, and he didn't know where he got a starling. He had nothing to do with the starling. It was very annoying to chirping. Unbearable, Lin Qingyu took Huan Tong out of the Blue Wind Pavilion, took advantage of the good spring time, found an open space in the garden, and dried the medicine. Huan Tong spread out the medicinal materials one by one and asked, "Master, the courtyard of the Blue Wind Pavilion is so big and the sun is enough, why don't we dry it there?" Lin Qingyu said, "Too noisy, too many birds." Huan Tong grinned, "I think it's very funny. Master Ho has been teaching the starling to call Dr. Lin." Before the young master refused to let him come to the Ho mansion, he thought it was difficult to live in the Ho mansion. "After I came, I realized that it was not very happy. Master Xiahe is distinguished and has been sick all the time. Any good things in the house are sent to their yard first, and their servants have also been drenched a lot. Little Howie himself is also interesting. Although he is not in good health, he can always find fun for him, which is not bad for his young master. This is already a blessing in misfortune." The two were basking in medicine, and Huan Tong saw a girl in a pink skirt coming towards them from a distance, and asked, "Master, who is that?" Lin Qingyu looked up. Behind the girl was a maid, who must be the master. In Nananho Mansion, there is only one master at this age. Miss Ho Mansion, Lu Wanchen's half-sister, Lu Nianteo. Lu Nianteo was born with bright eyes and white teeth, and every move showed everyone's demeanor. She came to Lin Qingyu slowly, leaning slightly, and said, "I have seen my sister-in-law." Liang's daughter, he didn't want to bother. But Lu Nianteo is a girl in the end, so it doesn't hurt to show some face in front of her. Lin Qingyu nodded lightly and said calmly, "Miss Luer." Lu Nianteo smiled and said, "Sister-in-law called me to read Tao." She is ashamed. She has always wanted to visit her eldest brother and sister-in-law at Lanfan Pavilion, but it is a pity that her eldest brother is still sick and seems unwilling to be disturbed by others. I finally got a chance to meet today. Sister-in-law is really mediocre, as the following people say. Lang Yan is unique, there is no other in the world. Miss Luer doesn't have to call my sister-in-law like that. But, you are my sister-in-law. Lu Nianteo thought for a while, or, I call you Brother Lin. Both of these titles made him respond. Lin Qingyu hesitated for a moment, and decided to take the lesser of the two powers. Then you should call your sister-in-law. Lu Nianteo said softly, "Yes." She saw the medicinal materials behind Lin Qingyu and asked, "Sister-in-law, is this taking medicine?" Lu Nianteo's heart moved. Could it be for the eldest brother? These medicines are all the medicinal materials on his father's prescription. It is extremely difficult to prepare prescriptions, and every medicinal material has strict requirements. It takes at least more than a month from dispensing to finished medicine. He spent so much time and energy on dispensing medicine, but he was just practicing his hands. Of course, it is not impossible for Lu Wanchenj to try the medicine for him after the medicine is finished. Lin Qingyu did not respond, and Lu Nianteo acquiesced. My eldest brother's body has been taken care of by Dr. Zhang since he was a child. It is Dr. Zhang that has the final say on what medicine to take. Lin Qingyu exhausted his patience. What do you want to say? Sister-in-law, don't get me wrong. Lu Nianteo seemed to be a little apprehensive. I know that elder sister cares about elder brother and wants his body to get better soon. It's just that elder brother's body is very golden and precious, and it's not sloppy at all. If you want to take medicine to your eldest brother, it's better to talk to Dr. Zhang first. Huan Tong said unhappily, "Second miss, my young master has not only obtained the true teachings of the master, but also has become a genius doctor outside. In terms of medical skills, that Dr. Zhang may not be as good as him." Lin Qingyu faintly felt that something was wrong, and interrupted, "Huan Tong." Huan Tong closed her mouth angrily. Lin Qingyu said again, "This medicine is not for Xiao Ho yet, the second lady is too worried." "Not for big brother?" It's getting late." Lin Qingyu turned a deaf ear. "Huan Tong, clean up and go back to the Blue Wind Pavilion." When Lin Qingyu returned to the Blue Wind Pavilion, Lu Wanchenj's new favorite starling had already learned how to call people. Lu Wanchenj carried it around Lin Qingyu, one person, one bird, one Dr. Lin, and Lin Qingyu wanted to poison them. Lin Qingyu threatened, "If you use your bird to bother me, I will kill it and drink it in soup." The fierce Dr. Linear. Lu Wanchenj handed the bird cage to Hulu, motioning her to carry it out. "You are so fierce, when I die, which girl would marry you?" Lin Qingyu said coldly, "You don't have to worry about Master Xiaohe. I will definitely marry a beloved, and bring my wife and belt to the grave for Master Xiaohe during the Qingming festival." Lu Wanchenj smiled and said, "Then you remember to burn more paper money. I'm afraid I won't have enough money below." Must. After agreeing to burn paper at the tomb, Lin Qingyu started talking about business and told Lu Wanchenj that he had met Lu Nianteo in the garden. Lu Nianteo wanted to see you several times, but he was turned away by you for various reasons. What do you know? Didn't I tell you, I know a lot. On the table was Lin Qingyu's freshly dried medicinal materials. Lu Wancheng looked at the freshness, grabbed a handful, and was beaten by Lin Qingyu with a palm, yelling, "This is what the celestial phenomena told you again." Yes, Lu Wancheng blew the back of his red hand. The sky said she was not a good person, so ignore her. Lin Qingyu thoughtfully said, "I see. The author has something to say." So one day Lin Qingyu looked at the person next to the pillow who had fallen asleep, and sighed. As expected, his hair was crushed. When you arrive at the mother-in-law's morning and dusk, let alone a big family at a high door, even a small family at a small door is what the daughter-in-law should do every day. Lin Qingyu was extremely disgusted, but in order not to leave Liang's handles, she had to go to Liang's to do some tricks every day. In the past, the Liang family couldn't say anything to him. He never responded to the topic between women. The Liang family couldn't help him. He often asked him about Lu Wancheng's situation and allowed him to return to the Blue Wind Pavilion. Early this morning, Lin Qingyu stepped into the main hall and saw the Liang family sitting in the main seat, knowing she had something to say. Sure enough, the Liang gave 2 new cups of tea, and said while tasting, "Qingyu, you have been married to the home mansion for a while." Lin Qingyu did not answer. Liang waited for a while, and then said, "You know, what is the most important thing about being a regular wife?" Lin Qingyu said calmly, "I don't know. The top priority, of course, is to have children for the husband." However, the Liang sighed, looking extremely sorry. Lin Qingyu sneered in her heart, "I can't do this. Madam can let Master Xiaohou divorce me and marry a good wife who can do it." Liang is probably accustomed to his cold words, and is not annoyed by being hit, but smiles. "What stupid thing to say, you are Wancheng's lucky star, Wancheng can't live without you in this life." When Liang finished speaking, he looked at Lin Qingyu's expression and saw that he was not moved. He condensed his face, and said with a serious expression, "The so-called father and godson, if you can't do it for the time being, you can only learn. Husband. You are the young master of the home mansion, and you should also learn how to take care of things in the mansion, so that you can share your worries for the night." Sharing the worries for Xiaohui. Lin Qingyu laughed, "Dare to ask Mrs. Xiaohui what's worrying? Is it because the thrush can't sing anymore, or the starling can't call people anymore? Or, is it his condition?" Just as Lin Qingyu guessed, when hearing the word sickness, Liang's lips unnaturally pursed. "Dr. Zhang will take care of Wancheng's condition. If I remember correctly, Master Ho once asked me to take care of Master Xiaohu's body. At that time, the wife was also there." "Indeed, there is such a thing." Lin Qingyu nodded lightly. "Is that lady finished?" Liang's 10 fingers gradually clenched, but his mouth smiled. "Long before you got married, I heard the matchmaker say that the son of the hospital not only gave birth to a first-class appearance, but also had a brilliant and talented talent. Outstanding, has the ability to never forget. Those who can do more. You are so smart, it is certainly not difficult for you to take care of family affairs and the body of the late-come." An old woman walked in. It was Mother Lu, who was punished to work hard a month ago. Mother Lu presented a few thick ledgers and said, "Please look at you, Xie Jun." Lin Qingyu picked up the top one casually and said indifferently, "I haven't seen you in January. It seems that Mother Lu is obviously getting old. I am afraid that the hard work will be difficult." Mother Lu reluctantly smiled and said, "The slave and maidservant made a mistake and should be punished. These are just the ledgers for this month. Try to organize them first. If you don't understand, you can ask your mother at any time." Liang said, "There are a lot of them, but depending on your ability. 3 days, within 3 days. How about you tidy up the ledger and return it to your mother?" Before Lin Qingyu could speak, Mother Lu rushed to talk, "Young master, madam, this is you." "No," Liang said with a smile, "I am old and want to enjoy the blessing. In the future, this huge home mansion will still have to be controlled by Qing Yu. Although the drama between the master and the servant is clumsy, it makes sense. The mistress entrusted the stewardship to the young emperor. Whoever looked at it, the mistress was generous and trusted the young emperor. If Shaojun shirks, he just doesn't know what is good and bad, and is in vain as a wife. The question is, did Liang really let him be the steward? How can it be? The Liang family is not like Lu Wancheng's biological mother. She was born ordinary, and her father was only a fourth-ranked waiter, and she still had to tremble in front of Nananho. There was the eldest son left by his original husband, and his own biological son was a trash. The only thing the Liang family could stand by in the home mansion was the power of the family. He has no interest in the power of the home mansion, but he is still a little interested in seeing Liang's regret and shame. Madam's kindness, I take it with my heart. Lin Qingyu threw the account book in his hand back on the tray. I have accepted these accounts. Liang nodded with satisfaction. Qingyu, don't let Wei Niang down. As soon as Lin Qingyu left, the gentleness on Liang's face immediately moved away and murmured, he promised to be so refreshing. Madame Lu squinted at the direction of the door. Don't look at Shaojun's height as an immortal, she is still thinking about the wealth of the home mansion in her heart. Liang shook his head, he only thinks of the Imperial Medical Office. It is not such a person. Why not? Madam, knowing people, knowing the face and not knowing the heart, you must be careful, don't let young master really take away the power of stewardship. Then you can rest assured. Liang said leisurely, I sent someone to inquire about it. He never asked about the account book in the Lin mansion. No matter how talented he is, it is impossible to take care of both sides. It depends on how he wants to give up. Which one? As for the stewardship, in the end it can only be mine. Mother Lu diligently said, Madam Wise. Liang helped Mother Liu's hand and slowly got up. Give people who understand the account a breath, don't let them help people who shouldn't. Madame Lu hurriedly said, the slave and maidservant will go now. In the Blue Wind Pavilion, Lu Wancheng slept until midday as usual before waking up. Seeing that his face was not so good, Hulu asked him what he was uncomfortable with. Lu Wancheng rubbed his forehead and said, headache. Hulu nervously said, it's good, how can I get a headache? Lu Wancheng guessed, probably because of lack of sleep. Flower dew. Although it is common for Lu Wancheng to have headaches and brain fever, Hulu did not dare to neglect, so she went to the study and invited Lin Qingyu over. Lin Qingyu checked his pulse, touched his forehead, and said, you are sleeping too much. Lu Wancheng was shocked, impossible. Why is it impossible? Lin Qingyu said, do you think you are a baby? You sleep for 8 hours at 12 o'clock a day, you don't have a headache. Who has a headache? Lu Wancheng sighed, what should I do then? Lin Qingyu sat on the side of the bed and pressed the temples on both sides for Lu Wancheng, with no intensity or intensity, sleep less. You want to wake up in the future, I'm afraid so. The voice stopped abruptly. Lu Wancheng was resting on Lin Qingyu's lap, smelling the faint smell of books on him, and suddenly there was a hint of uncertainty. He stiffened for a moment, telling himself that Lin Qingyu was also a boy, then relaxed, and closed his eyes to enjoy the peace of this moment. But not long after he had enjoyed it, Lin Qingyu stopped mercilessly and got up, letting the flower dew replace it. Lu Wancheng said quietly, is this over? I am very busy. Hey? What are you up to? Lin Qingyu fluttered a sentence, you have a good stepmother. When Lu Wancheng inquired a little, he knew what had happened in the morning. He couldn't help but chuckle and said, this is a little anxious, I can't wait for a few months, yes. The flower dew was unclear, so she replied, if we are the young master butler in the future, wouldn't our life be better? Lu Wancheng smiled and said, what are you thinking about? In the afternoon, Lin Qingyu ran out of the study holding the medicine. The Blue Wind Pavilion has an elegant pavilion, which is most suitable for enjoying the spring scenery. It's a pity that Lin Qingyu came a step late, and the pavilion has already been ascended first. Lu Wancheng was lying halfway on the rocking chair, basking in the sun lightly. He was dressed in red, with a lazy look, and the long hair that was bundled up at random added to him a bit of wind and chic. Hearing Lin Qingyu's footsteps, Lu Wancheng opened his eyes and looked. "Why is Dr. Lin here? I thought you were going to stay in the study for a day." Lin Qingyu said, "Pound the medicine." Lu Wancheng asked, "Hey? Don't you look at it?" Lin Qingyu said, "I'll talk later." "Then you have to read the medical book to dispense medicine, but also check the account? You want all of it?" Lin Qingyu asked, "Otherwise, can you come here? Try it." "Oh. Dr. Lin, what kind of medicine are you pounding now?" "A good medicine for a man with kidney deficiency." Lu Wancheng? Pavilions and waterside pavilions, flowers and trees help sparse. Two of them basked in the sun and the other smashed medicine, sharing this boundless spring scenery. After Lin Qingyu finished today's dispensing matters, it was getting late. He lit the lamp in the study and began to look through the books. He has never been in contact with Fuzhong's general affairs, but he was always by his mother's side when he was young. His mother often reads the accounts, and he knows the general idea. Bookkeeping is done in a streamlined way, so it's not difficult to understand. But the account book Liang gave him was small and vague. He only looked at it for half an hour, and his eyes were sore. In addition, the recording date is confusing, the language is unclear, and the missing content from one book appears in the other. No wonder the Liang wants him to finish it in 3 days. But even so, he may not be unable to do it. In the dead of night, the candle light flickered. Hearing the soft sound of the door, Huantong, who was waiting at the desk, ran to open the door. "Master Xiaohe? Why are you still not asleep?" Lu Wancheng stepped into the study with the help of Huolu. "The night is long and I don't want to sleep. Besides, your young master won't let me sleep more." Lin Qingyu looked down at the ledger and said, "I let you sleep less during the day, but didn't let you stay up late." From morning to night, Lin Qingyu didn't stop for a moment, and it was already exhausted at this time. Seeing Lin Qingyu's tired face, Lu Wancheng's chest tightened, and said, "It's time to go, or don't look at it first. I'll leave it to you tomorrow, how about it?" Lin Qingyu didn't look up. "Tomorrow I want to hand it over to today's Xiaohe." Since Master Xiaohe has a long night and doesn't want to sleep, why not come and help me?" Lu Wancheng choked and walked back with his forehead. "My head starts to hurt again. Let me lie down again, lie down again." Lu Wancheng strayed so fast that it made Huantong wonder if his illness had healed. Huantong served Lin Qingyu a new cup of tea, and whispered, "Master Xiaohe is really true. I can't help at all. Lin Qingyu is accustomed to, he is just a lazy bone. I hope he might as well burn incense and worship Buddha." When the words were over, Lu Wancheng actually turned back and walked in front of Lin Qingyu involuntarily, looking at the books spread out on the table with a solemn expression. Lin Qingyu was inexplicable. "What?" Lu Wancheng leaned forward and blew out the table lamp. Lin Qingyu. In the darkness, he felt a slight cold in his wrist, and he was actually held. "Go to sleep, the account book, leave it to me." Lin Qingyu opened her hand. "Leave it to you? Don't you bother to do it." Lu Wancheng was speechless for a while and couldn't refute it. "Furthermore, if you were to be found out by the Liang family, wouldn't it be punishing me for a crime of disrespect of my husband? I want to do this well because of." "I know, you want to take this opportunity to slap her in the face, but you don't have to have trouble with yourself. You don't like housekeeping, why do you want to force yourself?" Lu Wancheng said, "Huantong, hide Huach Hizi, don't let your young master light the lamp." Lin Qingyu said coldly, "Master Xiaohe, you can take care of yourself. It's not your turn to take care of my business." Huantong, Turn on the lamp. Huan Tong didn't dare not listen to the young master's words, and turned on the lamp again, only to see that Lu Wancheng's expression was no longer lazy and casual, and raised his eyebrows and said, "What's your matter?" Such Lu Wancheng made Lin Qingyu a little strange. Lu Wancheng said again, "Why is it your fault that my stepmother makes trouble? Shouldn't it be mine?" "Don't bother," Lin Qingyu's voice was slightly cold. Master Xiahe calmly recuperates. Lu Wancheng was silent for a moment, then smiled suddenly, but returned to normal again. "But without Dr. Lin in the house, I can't sleep at night." "Then you stay on it." Lin Qingyu didn't feel distressed at all. "Occasionally, stay up all night and you can't die." Lu Wancheng. Neither of them slept well this night. Lin Qingyu went to bed in the middle of the night, got up early in the morning and continued to bury his head in the books. "Master," Huan Tong's voice sounded outside, "an uncle wants to see you," and he said he was sent by Master Xiahe. "What does Lu Wancheng want to do?" Lin Qingyu frowned. "Let him in." Not long after, a middle-aged man with a righteous appearance walked in and said, "Give your piece to young master." The villain is a clerk in the Wen Kuogong's mansion. His surname is Zhang, and his name is Zhang Shiquan. Lin Qingyu was startled slightly, and understood most of it. "Master Xiahe asked you to come." Little Ho Ye wrote a letter overnight to Lord Guo. The letter said that young master had a bad debt to take care of, and he was a little weak. After the Lord Guo chose carefully, he sent a villain to help him. Zhang Shiquan respectfully said, "Don't worry, Xie Jun, I have been doing errands in the accounting room since I was a child. No matter how bad the accounts are, I can settle them all over again." Lin Qingyu recovered, and handed a ledger to Zhang Shiquan. "Zhang is in charge and take a look." Zhang Shiquan turned a few pages slightly, and said, "This ledger is obviously deliberately disrupted. If young master can trust him, let the villain be busy for one day. If you look bad, you should go to rest. There is a specialization in the art industry. If he can achieve the goal, he doesn't want to waste time on it." Lin Qingyu walked out of the study, stopped a maidservant, and asked, "Where is the little Ho?" The maid said, "Master Xiahe will go to the garden after finishing his meal." Lin Qingyu came to the garden. Lu Wancheng was playing pot-pots with a few maids. Huan Tong lost half of her monthly bill, and wailed with distress. Lu Wancheng smiled from the side with his mouth flying, alive as an unlearned and unskilled disciple. Lin Qingyu looked at him for a long time, and suddenly felt, as if she could understand Lu Wancheng. The author has something to say. Little Ho Ye, for the sake of his wife, gradually began to support the edge _____.